The 0-2 Western Carolina Catamounts take on the 1-1 and 25th ranked Georgia Bulldogs. And good afternoon, I'm Matt Stewart, joined by legendary Georgia quarterback Buck Bellew. And Buck, Georgia coming off that 16-12 loss to South Carolina. They are heavy favorites today against a Western Carolina team that's lost 11 in a row. But this is not a breather for Georgia from the standpoint they've got to iron things out before they start a stretch of 4 consecutive conference games, 3 of which will be on the road. And Mark Richt says they need a solid game from their quarterback, Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, Mark Richt and the Bulldogs trying to put a nasty taste in their mouth out of there and polish things up today. I tell you, Matthew Stafford not sharp after 4 solid performances. The first one in game 1 this year, really not sharp a week ago. And it's really important that Stafford sharp today, especially early. They need to develop some confidence with Stafford and these wide receivers before they head into Tuscaloosa.
For all the doom and gloom in the Bulldog Nation this week, one thing brought a smile to Georgia fans' faces, and that's been the performance of tailback Knowshon Moreno.
Well, he's special. He's a playmaker, and this is exactly what this Bulldog offense needs. A big play waiting to happen. 6.6 yards per touch. He's averaging about 19 touches a game through the first 2 games. I would think that Mike Bobo wants to get number 24 involved early in this one. You'll see the ball in his hands.
And a change in the starting lineup up front, blocking for Moreno today as true freshman Clint Bowling replaces Chester Adams at right tackle. Speaking of changes in the starting lineup, a change at linebacker where redshirt freshman Akeem Dent replaces senior Brandon Miller at Sam linebacker.
Brandon Miller moves aside, and Hakeem Dent out of Douglas High School playing for Gary Cantrell, member of that 1980 National Championship team. Look, fast and quick in space. He gets his first start. A little more quickness out in the open green grass. We'll see how that works out.
As for Western Carolina, Georgia marks the 3rd SEC opponent they played in the last 4 games. They closed the 2006 season with a 62-0 loss at Florida. They opened this season with a 52-6 loss at Alabama. Their head coach Kent Briggs says really hard to gain confidence when you're getting beat like that. They're hoping to take something out of this experience that can help them in the SoCon.
Yeah, like just getting out of here alive today. Florida whipped them last year 62-0. Alabama whipped them 52-6 in the season opener. Look, they've got some young guys that are going to have to play today because some starters are injured. They're looking to survive today.
Buck, the 3rd member of our team today is Allison Williams, and she's down on the sidelines.
Well, guys, Georgia is clearly favored going into this game, but neither team is approaching it that way, especially after Appalachian State upset Michigan. Western Carolina coach Briggs told his guys, look, you're coming in here, but you're not playing the Georgia fans. You're not playing the Georgia tradition. It's 11 guys versus 11 guys, and if you beat your guy one-on-one and execute, you have a shot no matter who your competition is. But you better believe Georgia coach Richt also saw that game, and he told his guys to be ready to battle. Expect to see their best players putting on their best performance, because as we saw just a few weeks ago, it's football and anything can happen. Matt?
All right, thank you, Allison, and we'll be checking in with Allison throughout the course of the game. This is just the 2nd meeting between Georgia and Western Carolina. The Bulldogs beat the Catamounts back in 1991 by a score of 48-0.
And John, 11 Georgia boys on this Western Carolina team looking to do well in front of the home folks, a lot like those Carolina guys did a week ago. And we'll see one here on the kickoff. Mike Malone, senior out of Gainesville, did a lot of great things at Gainesville High School.
Yeah.
Wearing number 5 today, ready to go to work.
Played for the Red Elephants of Gainesville High School. He is their leading rusher with 100 yards. This is really his first season playing tailback, has primarily been a kick returner, and coming off his best game as a receiver out of the backfield, had 99 yards receiving in Western Carolina's 45-21 loss to Eastern Kentucky last week. So the Catamounts lost to Alabama in their opener, lost at Eastern Kentucky last week. Georgia, of course, beat Oklahoma State and then lost to South Carolina last Saturday, and we are underway. Mike Malone will take it right at the goal line, picks it up after bobbling it at the 2. And brought down by Quentin Banks at the 21-yard line. That is where Western Carolina will start on offense for the first time today. They are led by their senior quarterback out of Greer, South Carolina, 6'4", 235-pound Todd Spitzer out of Hillcrest High School there in Greer, South Carolina. Actually started his collegiate career at Cincinnati, 18 of 41 on the season, 43.9%, 228 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions.
Well, you'll see another quarterback today. Adam Hearns will be in the game. So 2 guys getting a shot here today at Sanford Stadium.
Catamounts open in an I formation. Typically they go 3 wides, and the first handoff goes to Willie Harper. Harper on the carry, picks up about 5 yards up to the 26-yard line. As we take a look at the starting lineup for the Catamounts up front, James Singletary, the left tackle, Chris Huffman, Kevin Wiggins, Ben Davies, and Ryan Cooper join him up front. The wide receivers, Marquel Pittman, Eddie Cohen, the fullback, Joe Clark Deere, the tailback, Mike Malone, and Shamar Allen is the tight end, although, of course, we just saw Willie Harper starting at the tailback position instead of Malone today, and Harper is in here for the second play as well.
Big Huffman, the offensive guard out of Columbus, another one of those Georgia boys wanting to play hard today.
So 2nd down and 5. Play clock down to 7. Handoff goes to Harper. Nothing doing for Willie Harper on that play. Picked up about a yard. There is a flag down on the field. Let's take a look at Georgia's starting lineup defensively. With Roderick Battle up front, joined by Jeff Owens, Cade Weston, and Marcus Howard. The linebackers, Akeem Dent. There's the change as Brandon Miller sitting this one out, at least to start. Danell Ellerby and Darius Dewberry. And in the secondary, Thomas Flowers, C.J. Bird, Rashad Jones in for the injured Keelan Johnson, and Asher Allen in for the injured Brian Evans.
Kent Briggs, the head coach at Western Carolina.
On the offense, 2 players in motion, not resetting. That penalty is declined.
Talking highly of the Georgia defensive ends this week, Matt, talking about how tough it will be for them to get outside on the perimeter because of what Howard and Battle do.
3rd down and 6 from the 26. Western Carolina opened with 7 plays last week, and 9 of their first 10 were running plays against Eastern Kentucky. They've opened with a couple of rushes right here to put themselves in a 3rd and 6 situation. Spitzer going to the air, firing and looking for Markel Pittman at the 34-yard line, and the ball is going to be punted away by Western Carolina as they can't connect.
Georgia in a nickel package, extra defensive back on the field, rushing 3 with 2 linebackers, zone coverage, and the quarterback throws it to space right there. Receiver can't adjust, a little bit behind him.
Stephen Brown is the senior punter for the Catamounts. He's out of the hometown of Western Carolina, Cullowhee, North Carolina. Went to Smoky Mountain High School. And Thomas Flowers, actually Mikey Henderson, I should say, standing deep for Georgia back at the 35-yard line. Low snap and a line drive kick that should be returnable, but taken on a hop, and it will not be returnable. Actually, it will be. Mikey Henderson took it on a second hop. And Henderson up to the 39-yard line. He let that thing bounce twice before he picked it up and brought down at the 39, and that's where the Georgia Bulldogs will go on offense for the first time today. And Matthew Stafford looking to get things back together. Great performance against Oklahoma State, not so good against South Carolina. 37 of 68 on the season, 54.4%, 447 yards, a couple of touchdowns, 1 interception, which was thrown on the very last play of the game.
Really wouldn't count that one. You know, if you add up the drops that he had, he'd be a 60% passer right now. A problem a year ago, already developing to be a problem again in 2007. These receivers have to hold on to the football.
Handoff goes to Thomas Brown, and Thomas Brown picks up about 3 yards up to the 42-yard line. Let's take a look at the Bulldogs up front. Trenton Sturdivant, Chris Davis, Fernando Velasco, Scott Haverkamp, and there's Clint Bowling, the true freshman starting. Sean Bailey, the split end, Thomas Brown, the tailback, Brandon Sutherland, the fullback, Mikey Henderson, the flanker, and Trip Chandler, the tight end. And with Sturdivant and Bowling both starting, this marks the first time in the quote-unquote modern era that the Bulldogs have had 2 freshmen starting at tackle. Stafford wings it out here to Muhammad Massaquoi. Thomas Brown blocking for him, and Massaquoi gets knocked out of bounds at the 49-yard line and close to a first down for Georgia. Let's take a look at the Catamounts up front defensively. They got some changes. Brandon Drumgoole and Keenan Orr are starting over there on that left side of the line. Gene Singletary and Jeff Bradley. Morty Orgunze, Quentin Phillips, and Michael Shaw, the linebackers. Carlton Bailey, the corner. Miko Watson, Chris Collins, and Antoine George joining him in the backfield.
All right, let's go with some football here. Production on first down, a problem, a major issue for the Bulldogs last week against South Carolina.
Handoff goes to Thomas Brown, runs into his own man, and then goes down at the 48-yard line. Pick up a 3, ran right into the back of his left guard, Chris Davis.
And you got to put a minus on that. 3 yards on first down puts you behind the gun a little bit here. Last week against Carolina, 2nd and 7 or more, 6 times on the first 7 first down plays. And here today, 2 first down plays. Twice they've gone for 3 yards. Better production on third down will help you come third down.
Knowshon Moreno now checks in at tailback. 2nd down and 7. Durham and Wilson are the Bulldogs wide receivers. Moreno gets the handoff and goes down immediately in the backfield. Great penetration by the defensive tackle, Gene Singletary, to drop Knowshon Moreno for about a 4 or 5 yard loss.
Well, you'll see a couple of guys up front getting whipped at the line of scrimmage. Left guard, you get whipped. Look at the tight end. You got a guy push the tight end 3 yards back in the backfield there. Again, problems on the offensive line.
That was
Chris
Chris Davis.
Ironed out.
Yeah, that was Chris Davis' second play in a row that he'd been pushed around a little bit, because he got pushed around on that first down play where Georgia only got 3 yards. Bailey and Henderson back in the ball game at wide receiver. Stafford with time, going deep, looking for Sean Bailey, and broken up at the 10-yard line, and a flag's going to go down. Antoine George, another one of those Georgia natives, running step for step with Stacy Bailey, or Sean Bailey. I do that at least once a game. Broke it up, and there's going to be interference on the call.
3rd and 11. Boy, I tell you, this is a 3rd and long situation, and they take a shot deep down the field, going to their big play guy, Sean Bailey. He's one-on-one, and you expect your guy to win in that scenario. And the pass interference is a win for Sean Bailey.
Our referee today is Thomas Ritter.
16. Defense, 15 yards from the previous spot. First down.
So Georgia gets a first down. You'll remember on their first drive last week against South Carolina, South Carolina had 2 third down penalties that gave Georgia first downs, and so Western Carolina accommodates here on this series.
Well, you see a 4-man rush getting pressure, a little bit of pressure on Stafford, and Sean Bailey just grabs his arm. A clear interference call there.
So first down here for Georgia. Stafford with time, wings it over here and broken up, trying to get it to Mikey Henderson. And that was Carlton Bailey, another one of those Georgia natives. In fact, both of the cornerbacks for Western Carolina are Georgia natives. Carlton Bailey, a senior out of Jonesboro, Georgia High School, and Antoine George, a sophomore out of Decatur, Georgia High School.
Well, good coverage out of Bailey there. Again, Henderson ball in the chest. You got to wonder why he didn't make the grab. And another poor first down play.
2nd down and 10 for Georgia. Bailey and Michael Moore now the wide receivers for the Bulldogs. Moreno's still in there at tailback. And he gets the toss from Stafford. Moreno weaving his way through the defense down to the 30-yard line, and a pickup of about 8 on the play. Make that about 7 on the play. Brandon Drumgoole making the tackle.
Well blocked here. You see the line doing a nice job. Sturdivant caving down, and a big hole for Moreno. He tries to make a guy miss. That's his specialty, out in open space, making people miss. But not miss him, he's gone.
3rd down and 3. You see Moreno, 174 yards rushing in the first 2 games for the Bulldogs. He had 104 last week against South Carolina.
A couple of catches, getting him involved in the passing game.
Moreno gets the handoff, has the first down and more as he crashes down to the 21-yard line, and a flag down on the field at the point of the tackle. Actually back at the line of scrimmage, and we'll check the call from Thomas Ritter.
Well, the guess here is holding on Trenton Sturdivant. He got some penetration.
There's no foul.
Yeah, they're going to wave it off. So a first down carry for Knowshon Moreno gives the Bulldogs a first down at the 21-yard line.
You see Trenton working on the left side of your screen. And look at the fullback in there, Sutherland leading. A strength of this football team is at fullback. Moreno knows which way to go with it. Actually, should have cut the other way, but Sutherland, outstanding, one of the best fullbacks you'll see in college football.
1st and 10 from the 21-yard line. Thomas Brown now in there at tailback. And he'll get the handoff from Matthew Stafford. Not much doing on the carry for Thomas Brown. Tackled by Paul Gilmore after a 2-yard pickup.
Well, the problem when you end up in 2nd and long, a lot of times you get stuck in 3rd and long situations, and really a downfall of Georgia's offense a week ago against Carolina was the 3rd down conversions. Really an embarrassing number. I won't even say what it was, but better production on first down means shorter 3rd and long, or shorter 3rd down plays.
2nd down and 9 now for the Bulldogs from the 20-yard line. Sutherland in motion behind the line. Stafford going towards Bailey. Ball was deflected off the hands of Trip Chandler. And I don't know whether it was intended for Chandler or Bailey. I thought it was for Bailey, who was cutting into the end zone, but Chandler got his hands on it.
We'll have to ask Matt after the game who he's looking for right here. Play action fake, so you want to look at the tight end across the middle. He's running right into coverage. I think he's going tight end right there. Bailey with the slant in behind that crossing route.
So now it's 3rd down and 9. You mentioned the trouble on 3rd downs last week against Carolina, and the Bulldogs now on the season just 30% on their 3rd downs. Stafford wings it over to the far sideline and
not on the same page. He's looking at Bailey running an out cut around that 1st down marker, and Bailey ran the go on down the field. They'll have to talk it over down on the sideline.
So the problems continue for Georgia in their passing game.
And the red zone too, Matt. They are just awful in the red zone.
Well, they scored, I think, 5 touchdowns
field goals
in the red zone. 5 touchdowns against Oklahoma State in the red zone in the first game, but none against South Carolina. Had to settle for the 4 field goals, and Brandon Catu was 4 of 5 on his field goal attempts, and he is going to be good on his first one here today. A field goal of 37 yards puts Georgia on top 3-0, 9 minutes and 9 seconds into this ball game.
Check out our new look on GeorgiaDogs.com. You'll find everything you need to be the ultimate dog fan. Get t-shirts, jerseys, and more in the online store. Follow the Dogs with up-to-the-minute stats and scores through Game Watcher. Sign up for G Extra to get live audio and video, highlights, coaches shows, in-depth interviews, and more. Now purchase your favorite Bulldog photos or make your bid at one-of-a-kind Bulldog auction. So check it out, the official athletic site of the Georgia Bulldogs, GeorgiaDogs.com.
Here, all the way back to the 15.
A 37-yard field goal by Brandon Catu with 8:51 to play in the first quarter gives Georgia a lead. An 11-play, 41-yard drive that took nearly 4.5 minutes off the clock, and for Catu, his 5th field goal of the season.
And he might get some shots this year. Georgia bogging down in the red zone here to get the game started. Not a good sign here. So they have to settle for the field goal.
So Georgia will go back on defense as Western Carolina will get the ball again. Very familiar theme for Georgia dating back to last week. In fact, I believe they haven't scored a touchdown since the 3rd quarter of the Oklahoma State game. That's right. And Western Carolina, things could be worse. You could be Western Carolina. They have trailed now. This is the 25th consecutive quarter they have trailed.
Their last lead, Matt, was last October.
Against the Citadel. They actually led in that ball game 17-0 and lost it 30-27 in overtime.
They have not won a football game in a year. Last September,
yeah, the
last win.
They beat Eastern Kentucky, the team they lost to last week. In fact, when they beat Eastern Kentucky last year, they moved into number 22 in the national rankings in Division I AA, or what they used to call Division I AA.
And if you're wondering what a catamount is a mountain lion, bobcat type animal.
Mike Malone on the return, and Malone still on his feet, moving the pile all the way up to the 35-yard line. So Mike Malone playing inspired in front of the home folks here today. In fact, he went to the same high school as Georgia Athletics Director Damon Evans.
Yeah, 52 career touchdowns, 3,200 yards at Gainesville High School, and a track star to boot. 4x100 meter man, 200 meter guy. If he gets in the open field, look out.
He was not. He did not start the ball game at tailback, as a matter of fact. Willie Harper did, but now Malone is back out there for the, or out there, I should say, for the second series. That's Nick Harper, another Georgia boy in motion behind the line for Western Carolina. He's out of Banneker High School. For a point of reference, that's the same high school that produced Greg Blue.
Western Carolina, roughly about a 2.5 hour drive from Atlanta.
5-yard penalty, remains first down.
And they're expanding that road, right? So that time will go down.
4:41, yeah. Yeah, I think that really catches a lot of people by surprise. Cullowhee's not the most known place on the map, but it really is not far from Atlanta. In fact, Kent Briggs and his coaching staff doing a concerted effort to get their recruiting tentacles into the metro Atlanta area. In fact, all of his coaches who were allowed to be out on the road recruiting yesterday and last night were doing so in the Atlanta area. 1st and 15 following the penalty at the 30-yard line.
They might want to go after that Brookwood running back.
Ball is thrown incomplete. Trying to get the ball to Joe Clark Deere. He's out of Roswell High School there in the Atlanta area.
Since there's a lot of linebacker competition for Georgia, we talked with Mark Richt this week, and he brought it up with Akeem Dent getting the start here in this game. As you see the pressure put on the quarterback, that's not a good feeling when you're getting rocked like that. But Marcus Washington and Darius Dewberry and Rennie Curran all coming on, improving rapidly. There's a lot of competition at linebacker.
That was Geno Atkins who brought the pressure that time and made contact with Spitzer in the backfield. In fact, Mark Richt says that defensive tackle has been the strength of this Georgia defense through the first 2 games. Spitzer throws. It's complete to Malone, and he gets corralled at the 29-yard line by Danell Ellerby.
And again, pressure on the quarterback for the Georgia Bulldogs. And Corby Irvin from Augusta, first year in that Bulldog uniform, you see with the pressure on the quarterback, and he feels it, ladies and gentlemen. You know he does.
Georgia's really rotating 5 guys at the D-tackle position. Atkins, Owens, Corby Irvin, Cade Weston, and Jarius Wynn, who is the cousin of Garrison Hurst. But Cade Weston, we heard a lot about him coming along. He's a redshirt sophomore. Last week against South Carolina, Mark Richt said that was probably his best game as a Bulldog.
See a new look out of Georgia defensively. 3 down linemen, 3 linebackers that are very athletic, and then the nickel package in the secondary, 5 defensive backs.
Spitzer throws it away. Wanted to go to Malone, but Asher Allen had it covered, and it's going to be 4th down in a punting situation for the Catamounts.
Second 3-and-out punt by the Georgia defense. That's why you want to play some football. Willie Martinez very happy privately with this defense early this season. I thought they played well enough to they gave their team a chance to win that football game against Carolina last week.
Georgia's given up only 3 touchdowns in their first 2 games. 1 last week against Carolina and 2 against Oklahoma State in the opener. Yeah, defensively, Georgia, nothing to hang their head about. Short punt. Shanked it off the side of his foot, and it's going to be downed at the 40-yard line. So only a 25-yard punt off the foot of Stephen Brown. So the Bulldogs will take over officially at the 39-yard line. I think that's exactly where they were when they started their first drive.
Absolutely. See if they can get things untracked on first down. Wow, it seems to be really a developing problem.
So a timeout on the field with 7:26 to play in the opening quarter. Georgia leading Western Carolina 3-0. And we're back. 7.5 minutes to play here in the opening quarter. Georgia leading Western Carolina 3-0, getting a 37-yard field goal by Brandon Katu off of their first drive. And a good friend of Buck Ballou's on the coaching staff of the Western Carolina Catamounts. That would be their linebacker coach, David Napier.
Yeah, Napier was on Mike Cavan's staff down at Valdosta State. Had a chance to coach with him a couple years, and we'll have to spotlight him. He's the meanest guy in college football, the meanest looking guy in college football. We'll check him out a little later.
Matthew Stafford out of the shotgun, hands off to Thomas Brown, and Thomas Brown nothing doing in that run game right now. Tackle was made about 2 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. Drumpool making the tackle.
Another negative on first down. You get a negative or a positive, and they've had a lot of negatives on first down today. In fact, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. All 5 first down plays 3 yards or less.
So 2nd down and 8 for Georgia. Mark Richt said it was not a very good week of practice. Very
sluggish.
Yeah, sluggish, lackluster. Weather had something to do with that. Georgia was shuttling in and out of doors all week because of rain and lightning. And then on top of that, of course, spirits were down on Monday when they came back to practice following that loss to South Carolina. And Coach Richt said, hey, look, you know, I was guilty of it too. I was dragging a little bit myself.
Yeah, the ego takes a little kick in the pants. Takes you a couple days to bounce back. You know, the no indoor practice facility is a problem here at Georgia. I believe the defense was working on the volleyball court at some point this week. They've got to address that.
3rd down and 4. They could always work on their volleyball game while they're there. Stafford got hit as he threw. The ball pops loose. They have not ruled that an incomplete pass. And it is still loose, and a battle for it around the 15-yard line, and yet no signal.
Got a flag down back here on the 47-yard line.
Western Carolina has recovered the ball at the 14-yard line. Matthew Stafford got blindsided. There is a flag down at the 48, but Georgia's offense is coming off the field. An indication the penalty is going to be against the Bulldogs.
Illegal formation against Georgia, number 77. That penalty is declined. The fumble results first down.
Well, you're going to see Trenton Sturdivant here, our freshman left offensive tackle. Just get confused on who to block right there. 2 guys, he chooses the outside guy, and you get a guy coming free right there. Just a free hit on Matt, and that's what happens. You get blindsided like that and you got the ball in your hands, that ball's getting out of there.
That was the defensive end, or rather defensive tackle Gene Singletary, who blindsided Matthew Stafford and separated him from the ball. I think they might be doing a review here.
Well, and you're going to see a lot of this next week against Alabama with Nick Saban, master of disguises, and with a young offensive line, you're going to see defensive coordinators put a lot of people up there on that line and have these freshmen trying to decipher who's coming and who's not. One thing you can't afford to do is let somebody come free on the inside. You want the guy taking the longest route to the quarterback to come free if you're there making a choice.
That was Jeff Bradley who tried to scoop it up and run it into the end zone and give Western Carolina their first lead since last October. He fanned on it, but they do have the ball at the 14-yard line after a big pileup. Western Carolina ended up with the ball at the bottom of that pile. And taking a look at it, I think it's going to be a fumble. I don't think that.
Bang, bang play right there. Interpretation. I think the replay guy is wearing glasses again this week.
Yeah, I think that's going to be ruled a fumble.
After review, video evidence confirms the call on the field of a fumble. First down.
Not surprising there. That's the right call. Robert Roku is the replay official. And so Western Carolina takes over 1st and 10 at the Georgia 14-yard line. That is just the 2nd turnover for Georgia offensively this season.
Yeah, and Western Carolina will take all the help they can get. Defense, you're just trying to hold them to 3 points and a field goal right here.
Nick Baker in motion behind the line. Nothing doing on the shuttle pass. Georgia saw that coming. I said Nick Baker, Nick Miller behind the line in motion. They tried the shuttle pass there to Mike Malone, and it wasn't working.
Rodney Garner with the 2 starters at tackle in there, Owens and Cade Weston, and neither one of those guys get moved off the ball here early in the game. Owens making the play.
2nd down. And still about 10, maybe a little bit longer on that play now.
Carolina, Western Carolina looking to the sideline at the line of scrimmage, and then the quarterback makes the call. Important for Georgia to disguise what they're going to do prior to the snap of the ball.
Georgia's defense asked the crowd to get louder, make things more difficult. Malone breaks out of 1 tackle, but not that one, as he gets run down by Cade Weston and Jeff Owens. And now it's going to be 3rd down as they lose yardage on that play too.
Roderick Battle made the play for the Georgia defense right there. At 41, you'll see the right side of your screen. He gets the first hit, delays things Bulldogs, they develop in the backfield. Roderick Battle getting in there, messing things up.
So now it's going to be 3rd down and 13 from the 17-yard line. Spitzer communicating the play to the offensive line. He has time, throws, it's complete at the 12-yard line, but no more from Marcus Brown. And it's going to be 4th down, and they'll see if they can get a field goal here.
Western Carolina flooding the wide side of the field with 3 wide receivers, and he's got to drop it off in the flat. You see the cornerback Flowers in position, reads the play in zone coverage, and reacts coming up, making a solid tackle on the receiver there. Thomas Flowers being physical at the cornerback spot.
Jonathan Parsons on for a 29-yard field goal attempt, a junior out of Summersville, South Carolina, 2 of 4 with a long of 34 this season. And it is going to be good. A 29-yard field goal by Jonathan Parsons, and with 3 minutes and 30 seconds to play in the opening quarter, Western Carolina has pulled even with Georgia at 3-3. 3:30 to play in the opening quarter. Western Carolina and Georgia tied at 3 following a 29-yard field goal by Jonathan Parsons to pull the Catamounts even. And, of course, that was set up by the fumble by Matthew Stafford, who got blindsided by Gene Singletary, and the Catamounts recovered at the 14. They actually lost 4 yards on the drive and had to settle for the field goal.
Well, really a good job by Willie Martinez and this Bulldog defense, clamping down, holding them to 3 is really, you call that successful.
Yeah, it was. And I said they lost 4 yards. They actually lost 4 yards before getting 5 yards back. It ended up getting a net gain of 1 yard on the drive and settling for the field goal. But Kent Brooks told us during the week that they had to execute to their highest level to have any kind of shot against this Georgia team. And if they made any mistakes, Georgia would make them look really bad. But so far, it's Georgia that's made the mistake, and that's why we're tied here late in the first quarter. So Parsons to kick off. Asher Allen standing for the Bulldogs at the 4-yard line. They do not kick it to him, however. They kick it out of bounds. So we'll see what Georgia elects to do here. Whether they take the penalty or take the ball there. I'm guessing they're going to take the penalty, which would bring it up to the 35-yard line if I'm not mistaken. So Georgia's going to get the ball at the 35-yard line. So Western Carolina decides it's better to kick it out of bounds and give it to them at the 35 than let them have a return.
Georgia chooses to place the ball at the 35-yard line first out.
So the Bulldogs go back on offense for the 3rd time today at their 35-yard line. Their first drive resulted in a field goal by Katu. Their second drive resulted in a fumble by Matthew Stafford.
Well, trying to get this running game, trying to get it untracked here. Western Carolina has given up a ton of yards defensively against the run. And Georgia, with 4 of those 5 first down plays have been running plays, and they've been getting stuffed.
Yeah, Georgia has only 6 yards so far.
On 9 carries.
On 9 carries, and this is from a Western Carolina team that's giving up an average of 319.5 yards per game on the ground.
This just in, young players on the Georgia offensive line.
Knowshon Moreno makes one man miss, and Knowshon Moreno up to the 44-yard line before being tracked down by Keenan Orr. But a pickup of close to 8 or 9 on the play.
Yeah, really a good call by Mike Bobo here. High percentage pass, you get it in your playmaker's hands, and he makes something happen. There's your first effective first down play of the afternoon for the Dogs.
Moreno, the redshirt freshman out of Belford, New Jersey, came into the game with 4 catches for 65 yards on the season. And Stafford gets knocked down, ran right into Knowshon Moreno, and let's make sure Stafford's okay.
Yeah, he's just a little embarrassed right now. Something's stinging.
Looks like he
probably
might have
caught a knee from Moreno. There's a play action pass right there, and Moreno, sensing some penetration, trying to get some help on somebody, I bet, altered his path and that trips up Matthew Stafford.
So now it's going to be 3rd down and 8 for Georgia. Yeah, their knees hit.
See Moreno looking at the Western Carolina player in the backfield, losing track of where he was.
So 3rd down, Georgia, just like their lackluster week of practice, has continued the trend here today. Moreno on the carry, got up close to the 1st down, but got stopped shy of the sticks. Keenan Orr again on that tackle for Western Carolina. I believe Georgia's going to be short depending upon the spot.
Yeah, and you wonder if it's close. Will they go for it on 4th down? 3rd and long, draw play. You see everybody in the country run this. Again, you got the ball in the right guy's hands. You see Georgia going for it now on 4th down.
That was Jeff Bradley, not Keenan Orr, who made the tackle that time for Western Carolina. 4th down and less than a yard for the Bulldogs here. Just shy of the 45-yard line, and they're going for it.
Well, you know your defense will do a good job holding these guys if you're not able to convert here. But short yardage a problem a week ago.
That's Chappis in motion behind the line. Brandon Sutherland gets the carry, and I believe Brandon Sutherland picks up the 1st down as he's able to get his body across that 45-yard line. So the Bulldogs convert on 4th down.
Doesn't Brandon Sutherland always seem to get the 1st down? Knows where that 1st down marker is, and 36 does a great job in goal line and short yardage, making it happen for the Georgia Bulldogs.
60 touches a year ago, a little bit slower pace this year. Coming into this game, only 2 rushes and 2 receptions. So not seeing the ball in the first 2 games quite as much as he did last year.
Doing a nice job, though, blocking like you would expect a fullback to.
So 1st and 10. Stafford fakes the handoff, rolls the other way, throws complete to Trip Chandler, who turns around and gets down to the 46-yard line, picks up close to 9 yards on the play.
Bootleg play. Again, a nice 1st down call because it's a high percentage pass here. Stafford senses some pressure and gets rid of it quickly here. And that's the first read, is that guy in the flat. Well, I tell you, the tight end doing a nice job of getting inside that tackler and picking up some additional yardage.
Chandler came in with 3 catches for 44 yards, all coming against South Carolina. Remember, he sat out the Oklahoma State, serving a team suspension for violating team rules. And Gene Singletary, defensive tackle for Western Carolina, down on the field at the 35-yard line, got shaken up on the play. Singletary was the guy who blindsided Stafford a few moments ago and forced that fumble, but now he's down on the turf.
Well, Mark Richt seemed a little down, a little aggravated when we talked to him this week, and for good reason. He's catching some criticism. Georgia losing to South Carolina last week. Mark Richt was talking about the focus individually this week to improve individually, and then collectively the team gets better. And boy, they need to get better before that trip next week.
Don't miss Talking Football every Sunday night. Join Bob Neal, Tony Barnhart, Mark Schleybaugh, and T. Martin as they talk football. That's Sunday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern Time right here on CSS, or on CSS, I should say. So they get Singletary up on his feet and walking to the sideline. They don't want any more defensive starters to go down. They're playing without 4 defensive starters today. Their defensive end, Lavander Thomas, their defensive tackle, John Martin, linebacker Chaz Jackson, and their leading tackler, Mike linebacker Drew Walker, all out with injuries today.
A lot of young guys playing for the Catamounts out of necessity.
So 2nd down and 1. Kent Brooks says, you know, when you go play at Georgia, you want to have all your players. Really disappointed that some of his best players on the defensive side of the ball unable to suit up today.
Well, at least they get a big check.
Knowshon Moreno picks up the 1st down as he crosses the 40-yard line.
Well, he's gotten 38 touches in the first 2 games, and you see him here today. We're already 5-6 touches in this game. Yeah, Mark Richt very sure that this guy physically is strong enough to hold up to a 12-game season, getting 20 or more touches a game. They really feel like he's strong enough to be able to hold up.
1st down and 10 for Georgia at the 36-yard line. Mark Richt said he's also got some of those David Pollock characteristics. Anybody who's watched the game noticed how enthusiastically, I should say, he plays the game.
He was the first man off the field after the game last Saturday, obviously aggravated with the outcome.
That's the end of the first quarter. 15 minutes in the books here at Sanford Stadium. The Georgia Bulldogs and Western Carolina Catamounts are tied at 3 at Sanford Stadium. Start of the second quarter, you see Mark Richt on your right and his offensive coordinator Mike Bobo on the left, and Coach Bobo receiving his fair share of criticism this week following the Bulldogs' loss to South Carolina. But Mark Richt said, don't worry about Mike Bobo. He's been around coaching all his life. His dad was a high school coach down in Thomasville, and he understands that criticism is what they call on the coaching staff an occupational hazard.
And quarterback also, and Mike Bobo felt some sting as a quarterback here at Georgia and dealt with it. And he'll deal with this. You know, again, 70 plays last week against Carolina. Going back and looking at it, I could really only be critical of 3 or 4 calls in the game.
Mark Richt says when he went into coaching back in 1985 after leaving the University of Miami, Bobby Bowden taught him 2 things. Number 1, loyalty, and number 2, if you can't handle criticism in this business, you're in the wrong line of business. So 1st and 10 for Georgia. Stafford fakes the handoff to start the second quarter, throwing downfield, complete to Trip Chandler, who makes the grab at the 22-yard line. Second catch of the day for Trip Chandler as he becomes an increasingly bigger part of this Georgia offense as each week passes.
Another bootleg here. Now, the first receiver, guy in the flat. Second receiver, you look back to the middle of the field of that crossing route, which is Chandler there. And then the third read would be the go route or the comeback outside there. So Stafford playing this bootleg, really executing that play nicely.
1st and 10, and Chandler really kind of a surprise to Mark Richt. He said, had you asked me back before spring practice began if Trip Chandler is going to be a big part of the offense like Martrez Milner and Leonard Pope and Ben Watson have been in the past, he said, I probably would have said no, but now I would change my mind and say yes, because he really has developed. Had a big spring for the Bulldogs and now has 5 catches in his first 2 games as Knowshon Moreno gets the first down carry, picks up about 3 yards.
Well, if you're going to run that football, then play action, which is what he called on that bootleg, you expect your tight end to be a big part of the offense. You see it with the Falcons and Crumpler. You run the football, that tight end's going to get some looks. You see Knowshon get some yards after contact, baby.
They gave him 4 yards on that play. It's 2nd down and 6 as the Bulldogs are inside the 20-yard line.
They list Knowshon at 207. I don't know. I'm thinking 190, 195. That's a strong sucker, though.
Handoff goes to Moreno. Kicks it outside. Moreno down to the 12-yard line on the play, 13-yard line on the play. Picked up about 6 and close to a first down for Knowshon Moreno. And Buck, it just seems not anything against Thomas Brown or Craig Lumpkin. It just seems that when Moreno gets the ball, there's a different spark in the offense and in the ground game.
Well, he's just so elusive. Capable of making people miss. You see a stiff arm, you see a spin on one running play here. And a guy, too, that's really strong, as we were talking about.
Bulldogs are a yard short. It's 3rd down and 1. Sean Chappis in there again at the H-back position, and Brandon Sutherland gets the carry and picks up the first down. Jeff Bradley making the tackle, but not until Sutherland picks up the first at the 10.
Well, he didn't start, but big old Chester Adams is back in the game. At right tackle, Bowling has slid down to the guard spot. Well, maybe they got Adams in there at guard right now. That's his natural position.
That's what he played prior to this season.
Looks like he's at the tackle spot next to the tight end in the huddle. His ego's probably a little bruised there. They're starting a freshman in front of him today.
Yeah, they have Clint Bowling playing right tackle right now.
Right guard, yeah.
Yeah, right guard is what I meant. And Haverkamp's in there, so Chris Davis is the man that's come out. Right up the middle, touchdown. Thomas Brown. 10-yard touchdown run for Thomas Brown. It's his 3rd touchdown run of the season, and Georgia has a 9-3 lead.
Really, it's been a good play for him, and you've seen it a few times already this season. And getting rid of it quick. You look off one side, you come in the other. A little quick play with the running back, and look at big old Chester Adams down there throwing, open up the hole for Thomas Brown to sprint on in that end zone.
Brandon Catu puts the PAT through, and 2 minutes and 6 seconds into the second quarter, the Georgia Bulldogs have reclaimed the lead on the 10-yard touchdown run by Thomas Brown, and the Bulldogs have a 10-3 advantage here at Sanford Stadium. 12:54 to play in the first half. Georgia leading Western Carolina by a score of 10-3. The Bulldogs 54-14. Their last 6 seasons. That's the second best record out of Southeastern Conference teams during that stretch. Only a half game behind LSU. It was just interesting, though, how all the optimism that we had seen following the Oklahoma State game turned to pessimism so quickly after the South Carolina game. And some of those blogs can be awful entertaining sometimes.
Just downright mean is what they are. 11-play, 65-yard touchdown drive. Knowshon Moreno making it work. Number 24, big plays all over the place. And a nice little play there to get the touchdown. Deception is what Mike Bobo's depending on right now. Stafford looking left and throwing right on that touchdown pass.
The blog that I found especially amusing is the one that said, "I'm tired of all this mediocrity." Georgia's played in the SEC championship 3 times in the last 6 years. They've won it twice, and as I just mentioned, they're just a half game behind LSU for the best overall record among all 12 SEC schools. Call
me crazy, but I just try to stay away from the lunatic fringe.
That one just caught my eye. Didn't go looking for it, Buck. Malone going to take the kickoff 2 yards deep. Has a place to run. And Malone all the way up to the 45-yard line. So Mike Malone, the young man out of Gainesville, Georgia, just as good as advertised, showing his wares here in the kick return game for the Catamounts, and they bring it up to the 45-yard line.
Well, you're seeing a lot of these kickoff returns. They've opened things up. Ball's been moved back on the kickoff, and you're seeing these playmakers getting the ball with a lot of green grass. And that's a dangerous thing, man. I tell you what, in college football, that kickoff coverage team is as important as it's ever been.
So 1st and 10 for the Catamounts from the 45-yard line. Todd Spitzer here today, 3 of 6, just 3 yards.
Knocked around a little bit too early on. You saw him looking around. Wonder where that heat's coming from.
That's Willie Harper in motion, sprinting to the sideline. Pass is thrown and complete to Nick Miller. Miller picks up about 7 yards on the reception. Just his 3rd catch of the year.
Dent in on the play there. They're spreading the field, 4 wide receivers. You see the quick pass. Ball's out of there on the 3rd step. Receivers just settling down in the void of the zones, and Hakeem Dent getting a tackle in there in his first start.
2nd down and 1 from the 46. Western Carolina in Georgia territory again. Catamounts missing 2 starters on their offensive line as well. 2 guys that haven't played the entire season. They just had all kinds of injuries. Handoff. Willie Harper has the first down as he crashes inside the 40-yard line to the 39. Willie Harper out of Asheville, North Carolina, and Reynolds High School.
Catching Georgia a little bit on their heels right there. A I formation lead, power running play. You see the block in there, lead block there on Marcus Washington, and he's clean through that front 7 area into the secondary.
1st down and 10 from the 39. Western Carolina 2-9 last year. 0-7 in the Southern Conference. First time they'd ever gone winless in the conference. They sling it out here to Eddie Cohen, his first catch of the day. Hakeem Dent drags him down from behind. Pickup of 3 or 4 on the play.
Horse collared him, reached up, grabbed those pads, jerked him down to the ground. Got a flag down on the play, but Dent really a little quicker than Miller out in open space. And you see him able to recover because of the quickness. May have grabbed his face mask there.
Eddie Cohen, leading receiver for this Western Carolina team, came in with 9 catches for 127. He's a senior out of Hilton Head Island, South Carolina High School.
Face mask on the defense, number 51. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
Mark Richt doesn't believe it. He's a little, I told you, man, he's a little annoyed these days. Had one of the columnists in the local paper wondering if he had enough fire in him to motivate this young football team.
And again, I find that column to be very interesting, coming here in year number 6. Or actually year number 7 for Mark Richt as the head coach after they've had so much success. You might expect that column if it was the first year of the program and they were struggling, but I mean, he's proven that he can win and that his style and personality is effective. Here comes the end around. Not much doing on that play. Eddie Cohen might have picked up the first down, though. They needed 3, and he might have gotten 3 to the 29.
Reverse play, and Georgia's safety, Rashad Jones. He's played a lot of football, getting a start here today, number 9. Asher Allen with that corner blitz. He gets inside the play, so they've got the corner. And Rashad Jones coming over, making the play from a safety spot.
And Mark Richt was asked about his personality during his weekly news conference, and he said that Joe Tarashinsky, one of the assistant coaches in this, or one of the assistants in this program, said, he said Joe Tarashinsky's always getting on me that I need to go berserk on the players. And he goes, at the Virginia Tech game when we were down in the Chick-fil-A Bowl, I didn't go berserk on the players, and we came back and won. There have been times when I yelled at the players and we didn't come back and win.
Well, Tarashinsky is that guy on this coaching staff that doesn't mind getting up and motivating this football team. So behind the scenes, coaches like Mark Richt will have the assistant that is the in-your-face tongue-lashing guy. And for Western Carolina, gosh, I know who that is. That's linebacker coach Dave Napier. Every team's got one.
Rick's response to the questions by that columnist were that, look, I've just got to be who I am. I can't go out there and act like somebody who I'm not. And Rick's not one of those guys that's going to throw the headset and scream and holler.
Worked for Tony Dungy last year at the highest level.
And remember, they always questioned Tony Dungy about his personality until they won the Super Bowl. Now no one asks him to question anymore because he's proven that he can win. I think Mark Richt's proven that he can win. Handoff goes to Willie Harper, tries to sprint outside. Rashad Jones chases him down. Marcus Washington was there as well to cut him off the pass. Very little gain on the play.
Well, just the speed of Rashad Jones right there. One of the most highly recruited guys in the Southeast a couple of years ago. Georgia wins the recruiting battle. Kid stays at home, and you see why. He's outrunning people.
Yeah, Rashad Jones played at Washington High School there in Atlanta. They were big rivals with Akeem Dent's Douglas High School Astros.
Gary Cantrell.
Yep. 2nd down and 9 for the Catamounts. They're at the Georgia 28-yard line. Again, Rashad Jones is in for the injured Keelan Johnson. Johnson suffering a rib injury last week against South Carolina. He told me on Tuesday that he would be able to play today, but with Alabama coming up next Saturday, I'm guessing the Georgia coaching staff not wanting to take any chances. Nick Miller on the carry cuts it back to the 24-yard line, and he picks up about 3.5 or 4 on that play, and it's going to bring up 3rd and middle distance here for Western Carolina.
Well, Willie Martinez won't like the look of that when they sit down and watch the tape of this. A couple of missed tackles on the play, and you can't afford to do that in SEC play. You see Rashad Jones, nice job coming up, misses the tackle. I believe that was Ellerby. No, that wasn't Ellerby. Asher Allen also missing the tackle.
So it's 3rd down and 5. Ball is just inside the 24-yard line. We told you at the top of the broadcast, this is the 3rd SEC opponent that Western Carolina has played in their last 4 games. They did not score a touchdown against either Florida or Alabama. And the ball is fumbled and recovered by Western Carolina at the 23-yard line.
Stop them for no gain. Really a nice job zone coverage. They're just rushing 4 and 5 men on the play. And a nice little hit on the running back here to get that ball out of there. Roderick Battle making the play, and Dewberry had it but just let it get away.
So they bring Jonathan Parsons in for another field goal attempt. This will be a 41-yarder. He's already connected on 1 today. Georgia wants to call a timeout, and they finally get it, stopping the clock with 9:16 to play here in the 2nd quarter. So the timeout called by Georgia as Parsons was lining up for a 41-yard attempt, which would be his longest of the season. Georgia leading Western Carolina by a score of 10-3. And let's go down to the sidelines and Allison Williams. Allison?
Well, guys, Coach Richt isn't just teaching the football players here about football. He also taught some women about it. This summer, over 350 women from UGA came out for Football 101 for Women. Now, the program has raised $40,000 for a women's athletic scholarship, and their goal is by 2013 to offer a full women's athletic scholarship through the money raised for it. And apparently they learned a lot. They even got out there and practiced on the field for 2.5 hours, guys.
All right, thank you, Allison, for that. Mark Richt, very civic-minded.
Now, does Spurrier do that over at Carolina?
I don't know.
Lou Holtz used to do it.
It's a good idea. And
It's
it
gotta be
raises,
fun.
yeah, it raises money for athletic scholarships at the University of Georgia. Nothing wrong with that.
Maybe Saban could do that at Alabama, soften his appearance. You know, people look at him as being a tough, unapproachable guy.
I think it's because he is.
I found him to be very cordial.
Well, it's probably because you're a former star player in this league, Buck.
Oh,
treats you
please.
differently.
All I did was give it to Herschel.
It worked. There's Kent Briggs. He's in his 6th season as the head coach at Western Carolina. 21-35 his record. He was a quarterback for the Catamounts back in the 70s. Played for the legendary Bob Waters. You might remember the Bob Waters story there at Western Carolina. He was the coach of the Catamounts for 20 years and then came down with Lou Gehrig's disease and finally died from that disease at the age of 50 years old. But a very touching story. Even after he had lost mobility in his arms and his legs, he still coached the team and actually coached the team until 3 months before his death.
Coach Briggs battled cancer a couple of years ago and survived that battle.
Here's a 41-yard field goal attempt by Parsons, and Parsons puts it through the uprights. So with 9 minutes and 11 seconds to play in the opening half, the Catamounts cut Georgia's lead to 4 on the second field goal by Jonathan Parsons, and it's 10-6 at Sanford Stadium.
The GeorgiaDogs.com tee-shop is the ultimate destination for the University of Georgia sports fan. With a terrific selection of over 1,100 items, GeorgiaDogs.com has everything a Bulldog fan needs. Go to GeorgiaDogs.com today to get t-shirts, jerseys, hats, watches, accessories, and more. Plus, you'll get great customer service and $4.99 shipping on every order. The GeorgiaDogs.com tee-shop, where Georgia fans go to shop.
.9:11 to play in the first half. Georgia leading Western Carolina 10-6. Catch the Mark Richt News Conference live every Tuesday on CSS at 12 noon Eastern. If you miss it the first time around, we always replay it on Thursdays at 2:30 Eastern on CSS, your source for Southeast sports. So Western Carolina within 4 here. Their 21-point performance against Eastern Kentucky last Saturday was their highest offensive output, as the kick bounces out of bounds at the 28-yard line. And again, another penalty, and Georgia will take the ball at the 35. Now, if he could get that ball to jump straight up and down when it hits the ground, then he's got something going. And it almost happened right there. Get a little backspin on that ball, and then you might recover a ball downfield.
Kick out of bounds on the kicking team. 5-yard penalties, re-kick.
So Georgia this time, rather than taking it at the 35, is just going to make them re-kick, which is their option. But as I mentioned, this is the coming off that 21-point performance against Eastern Kentucky last week. Actually was the last game that was their best since they'd scored 27 against the Citadel back in October, which incidentally was the last time they had a lead in a ball game against the Bulldogs.
Well, psychologically, Western Carolina came in here scarred, but tell you what, they're believing right now, deep into the second quarter.
They're in the midst of an 11-game losing streak. School record is 13 games, and again, another pooch kick. It's going to be fielded and bobbled and covered by Georgia at the 38-yard line. I think that was Sean Chappis who bobbled that kickoff, and then Asher Allen was trailing on the play and got on top of it.
Yeah, Munzenmeyer, I believe, was the fullback there, 48, coming up, trying to corral that football, something that he is obviously not used to doing on the kickoff. And smart of Western Carolina to keep coming with this little pooch kick. You got a guy that normally is not comfortable handling the football.
Munzenmeyer is 48. Chappis is 49. You're right, it was Munzenmeyer, the redshirt freshman out of Norcross, Georgia High School. First and 10. Ball is at the 38-yard line for the Bulldogs. That's Sutherland in motion behind the line. Stafford fakes the handoff, throwing downfield. It is complete to Muhammad Massaquoi, making the grab at the 40-yard line, and a first down for Georgia on a 22-yard gain.
Well, that's just easy money right there. Play action pass. They're wanting to get the ball downfield for a change. And you see Massaquoi on the deep crossing route. And Mark Richt said this week he was going to get more action. He's been really at the slot, but they moved him outside a little bit and have him coming across the middle there off the play action. A big hole to throw that football.
First and 10. You're right. He has been backing up Sean Bailey at split end. They were going to get him some time at flanker, get him and Bailey on the field at the same time this week. And Stafford back to pass, throws to Bailey. It's complete at the 23-yard line, and another first down for the Bulldogs. That's a 17-yard gain. So back-to-back completions by Stafford to Massaquoi, and then Bailey net 39 yards.
Again, a play action fake and a slant, and he's got the arm to throw the skinny post in there to Sean Bailey, who's not afraid to make the tough catch either. He zips it in there, and number 4 is where you want to go with the football.
Massaquoi comes off the field, and Mikey Henderson comes in for him. Bailey stays in.
On the field at the same time. To me, those are Georgia's 2 best receivers. Smart to have them out on the field at the same time.
Stafford slings it out here to Mikey Henderson. Mikey Henderson runs to the sticks and gets close to the first down. Perhaps stepped out about a yard short, and a 9-yard pickup for the Bulldogs to the 15-yard line.
Well, you heard me complaining about first down plays in the first quarter. Now they've turned it around. 3 straight first down plays that have been very positive. Again, quick pass, high percentage. Playmaker's got his ball and got the ball in his hands, and he's making something happen.
Second down, let's call it 2. They gave him 8 on the play.
Mike Bobo dialing up the positive plays right now. Stafford up there checking, getting to the proper play at the line of scrimmage.
Bulldogs continue with Clint Bowling at right guard. Stafford going for the end zone, and a touchdown to Sean Bailey.
Double move. They got the cornerback to bite on that one. And a quick 6. That's easy money for Matt and Sean Bailey there. They double move, fake the slant route. Cornerback bites, and 4 is wide open for the easy touchdown grab.
First touchdown catch of the season for Sean Bailey makes it a 16-6 game. And what was that? 4 consecutive completions right down the field for Georgia. To 2, puts it through. So with 8:04 to play in the first half, Georgia has their biggest lead of the game at 17-6.
Yeah, really a nice drive, and Stafford would touch on the football. The kid's learning. Got to make some mistakes out there on Saturday and correct them to get a better idea to how to go about your business. And that's easy. They're too aggressive out of the cornerback spot, and then nice little touch on the slant and go.
So the Bulldogs go 22 yards to Massaquoi, then 17 yards to Bailey, 8 yards to Henderson, and then 15 yards to Bailey for the touchdown. And there you go, 4 plays, 62 yards, and just 67 seconds to get it done. Matthew Stafford was his 3rd touchdown pass of the season. And again, you're right. I mean, what was the word you used to describe Mark Richt this week?
Annoyed?
Yeah, maybe a little annoyed. We were talking to him yesterday, not necessarily annoyed with us, but I was asking him, is this the kind of game that maybe you see some Joe Cox and some of the reserves? And he said, look, we're just trying to get a solid game out of Matthew Stafford. We're not thinking about who's going to get in this game because it's going to be a blowout. We're approaching this game, as Allison Williams told you at the top of the broadcast, we're approaching this game like it's going to be a war, like it's going to be a battle, and then we'll worry about reserves and that kind of stuff if that comes into play. But to approach it any other way than, it being a serious game is the wrong mindset for us to take.
We saw Stafford on the phone with Bobo there. I bet Matt telling Mike in the press box, I like the play calls there. Passes 4 in a row, 4 for 4. Dial up some more passes. We're throwing the double move to Sean Bailey.
And I think pass protection is probably a big thing too. And Mark Richt said that was one of the big problems with Matthew Stafford in the first half of last week's game against South Carolina. One of the reasons why he was so off the mark with his accuracy was South Carolina did a good job early pressuring the quarterback and stuffing the run.
Well, that said, I think that the main thing was Carolina Ty Nix came up and they tightened up coverage and took away the short stuff and made it tougher on Matt Stafford last week. Nice job by Carolina getting pressure on him early and then tightening up the coverage, so those holes to the wide receiver, they closed in a hurry.
Rick said because the pass protection wasn't settled, Matthew Stafford couldn't get settled, could never stick his foot in the ground and just drive that ball down the field because he kept feeling the pressure around him in the pocket.
Well, he missed some open receivers, but they let him down. Those receivers let him down last week.
Malone on the return gets knocked out of bounds this time by Brandon Miller. First time we've called Brandon Miller's name today. He's been primarily on special teams.
There's a flag on the field.
Penalty is going to be against Georgia, and we'll see if Western Carolina makes him re-kick here. Looks like they're not going to do that. Going to be happy with the return. Brandon Miller out there on the field playing some defense now. Did not start the ball game. Akeem Dent got his start at the Sam linebacker. And remember that Brandon Miller, the plan for him when the season started or before the season started was to have him play middle linebacker.
They're trying to find a home for Brandon Miller.
On the kicking team, only 3 players on one side of the kicker. That 5-yard penalty is tacked on to the end of the run. First out.
But at 6'4", 260 pounds, as a linebacker out in space, which you are a lot of the time at strong side linebacker, just appears to me not quick enough out there on the perimeter to make the plays necessary. So you see Akeem Dent, who is really around 215 pounds and a little quicker out there in open space, he's having a nice day today with 4 or 5 tackles already.
Adam Hearns in there at quarterback now for Western Carolina, hands the ball off to Mike Malone. Malone picks up about 4 yards on the play up to the 36. Adam Hearns, number 4, a sophomore out of Philadelphia, played wide receiver on the scout team last year and gives them a little bit of a different dimension at the quarterback position than does Todd Spitzer. A little bit more elusive, able to avoid the sack. And Coach Kent Briggs doesn't say it's a quarterback competition just yet, but he says if Hearns continues to develop, it could be.
Well, they're coaching him up. He's the guy in the future, and they're trying to get him ready right now. Showed a lot of poise against Alabama. Studies hard, good kid. Trying to get him ready to play big-time college football in that Southern Conference.
Second down, and tackle made by Ellerby, polished off by Washington and C.J. Bird, and not much doing on the carry for Mike Malone that time.
Lead play, power running play, and you see these Georgia linebackers not waiting on the collision. They're taking the collision to Western Carolina here, and you see a little help out of big old Cade Weston in there. Attacking the power running play, not waiting on it.
There you see Ellerby, number 33, leading tackler on this Georgia team with 14 stops coming into today's game. It's 3rd down and 4.
4 down linemen, 2 backers, 5 defensive backs, nickel package.
Hearns firing. It's complete to Miller, and Miller up to the 41-yard line and close to a first down.
A little control passing game out of Western Carolina. Receiver getting to that first down chain and turning around, settling into the zone. We're going to have to measure this one.
Nick Miller with his 2nd catch of the day, which is as many as he had in the first 2 games combined.
Quarterback moving around in the pocket, finds a receiver. Good execution there.
Statistically, Hearns has been the better quarterback, although he's the number 2. Coming into this game, Hearns was 19 of 27, or over 70% of his completions, for 239 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Also 13 rushes for 57 yards. And they did pick up the first down on the completion of Nick Miller. So a new set of downs for Western Carolina with just over 6 minutes to play here in the second quarter. Western Carolina averaging yards on the ground, 233.5 through the air, though 327.5 is their total yardage per game on average. But they have given the ball up 6 times in their first 2 games. Ball is fumbled, and it looks like Hearns was able to pick it up and just fall forward to get back to the original line of scrimmage. And there's a flag on the play as well.
We're seeing more and more offenses around college football doing what Western Carolina's doing, getting to the line of scrimmage, looking at the defense, looking to the sideline to see what play to run.
Offense, left guard. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
So there's a lot of waiting around going on by the linemen. I'm not surprised you don't see more of this. The illegal motion, you've been up there for 5 minutes, it seems, waiting on the play to get called.
4 penalties now on the Catamounts for 30 yards. 1st and 15 now.
So important to disguise what you're about to do defensively when you've got these coordinators making the call at the line of scrimmage.
Not much doing for Malone on the play. Tackle by Jeremy Lomax, the defensive end, getting into the ball game here now.
See Willie Martinez there on the sideline. Bulldogs playing a lot of people on defense. DeMarcus Dobbs in the game, Lomax in the game, and also somebody you hadn't seen in a while, Ramarcus Brown at cornerback, getting some playing time.
2nd down and 12. Ramarcus Brown and Donovan Baldwin both coming off a 2-game suspension for violating team rules. So Ramarcus Brown getting in there. We haven't seen Baldwin yet. You'll remember Baldwin actually had been shifted to cornerback during the spring, but I think they have him working back at safety again. Malone on the carry. Marcus Washington meets him there at the 44-yard line. Pickup of maybe 3 on the play, and it's going to be 3rd down and long coming up for the Catamounts. Ramarcus Brown on the field. He's out of Tri-Cities High School in East Point, Georgia. Same high school that produced Jonas Jennings.
Georgia got him away from Oklahoma. Oklahoma working him pretty good, but Ramarcus decided to stay home.
3rd down and 7 now for Western Carolina at the 44-yard line.
Base package in there for Georgia.
Hearns fires it out here to Malone. Malone tries to get around Ellerby and does, and has a 1st down and more as he runs down the sideline and steps out of bounds at the 35-yard line.
Well, Malone's going to have a big time when he comes back to Gainesville and sees the homeboys back there. He's showing out pretty well today. Little swing pass, so a little east and west. You're asking that defense to run and tackle. Ellerby with a miss. Rashad Jones with a poor angle on the play, allowing him to get the extra yardage there. Not what Willie Martinez is looking for.
Actually stepped out at the 40, not the 35, so a 1st and 10 for the Catamounts at the 40. Former Georgia Bulldog Chris Carpenter on that Gainesville High School coaching staff.
First 3rd down conversion of the day for the Catamounts.
Ball at the 40-yard line, 1st and 10 for Western. Hearns being chased by Marcus Howard, throwing on the run and incomplete, trying to fire it to Shamar Allen, his tight end, and it's going to be 2nd down.
Again, you're bootleg, you're looking flat first, and then you're looking crossing route, and that's where he tried to go with the football here. But he did a nice job of showing the run, threatening with the run, turns and squares the shoulders, doing a nice job.
Now you see exactly what we were talking about, what Kent Briggs told us, the fact that he brings an elusiveness to the pocket that maybe Todd Spitzer doesn't have, because he was able to run away from the pressure that time to get the ball downfield, although it was incomplete. 2nd down and 10. Just over 3.5 minutes to play here in the 1st half. Pass is complete to Malone. Malone down to the 33-yard line.
Brandon Miller.
Marcus Brown on the catch.
Brandon Miller making the play out in space there. He's got to be motivated here. Didn't get the start today. Now he's out on the field. You see him play off the block and get in on the tackle. He got up quick so everybody would know, hey, 12 made the tackle. Brandon Miller.
3rd down and 4. Got to reach the 30 for the 1st down. Really, it's a short 4.
4 wide receivers spreading the field. You've seen him throw underneath a lot. Georgia's tightened up the coverage here.
Hearns being chased. Now going to run for it and pick up the 1st down, stepping out of bounds at the 27-yard line.
Part of the danger of going man coverage, Georgia bump and run coverage all across the board, is you've got nobody on the quarterback. Man coverage, you got guys running all over the field and nobody on 4. Look out, 4 running.
And a 1st and 10 with the ball at the 26.5-yard line for the Catamounts. trying to do something they haven't done against a Southeastern Conference school, at least of late, and that's score a touchdown. Play clock is down to 6. Pass complete with Garland. Garland brought down. Nice tackle by Rashad Jones. And a loss of 3 on the play.
This kid, I tell you what, I love the athletic ability. You're seeing him grow into a solid football player right in front of your eyes there. Safety spot. He's up fighting off the blocker. Western Carolina doing a lot of this. You got to shuck that blocker and make the tackle, and that's exactly what 9 does.
Coach Mark Richt this week talking about Rashad Jones said obviously he's very talented. Did make a big mistake, however, in that South Carolina game when he stopped on the Gamecocks touchdown run. He thought he had heard a whistle, and he stopped dead in his tracks on that play instead of coming up to make the play.
Thought he played pretty solid last week coming off the bench.
Hearns running and stopped by Dewberry. Then the ball pops out after the play is blown dead at the 28-yard line.
Brown calls the fumble, it appears. Coach Briggs didn't like the call. He's adamant that ball was down. Again, more underneath stuff. And he's just running with it. That ball comes out. It looks like he tried to get rid of that ball.
Yeah, it looks like he just slinged it up into the air.
Tried to throw it out of bounds, it looks like. He's got nowhere to go with the football. All the receivers are taken there. Maybe that knee getting twisted around.
Western Carolina trying to run a play real quick to keep the play from being reviewed, and they're not going to get it off in time. No, Western Carolina called the timeout. I thought they were trying to run the play real quick. If I was them, I would, because if they take a shot at reviewing this thing, they might rule otherwise.
Did you see Briggs? He asked his quarterback, "What were you doing there?"
Take another look at it right here, and you make the call at home.
Dewberry with the head.
The knee down right there.
Yeah, the ball hit the ground and came popping out.
That's what happened. A much better look from that angle. From the first angle that we saw, it looked like he just kind of flung it up into the air, but obviously that time it showed that it was a fumble caused by the ground.
Great work by the Comcast CSS photographers here at the game.
So a timeout on the field with 1:23 to play in the first half, and Georgia leading Western Carolina 17-6.
Georgia fans, it's game day. Do you have your tickets? Georgia men's basketball season tickets are on sale now for only $225, and this season features one of the toughest home schedules in the nation, with Florida, Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, Tennessee, and Kentucky visiting Stegman Coliseum. Call 877-542-1231 or log on to GeorgiaDogs.com to purchase your tickets. Don't miss out on the excitement of Georgia basketball game day and get your season tickets today.
Third down and 13 with the ball at the 29-yard line. Down to the final 83 seconds of this first half. Stick around. Coming up at halftime, we'll talk to Georgia basketball coach Dennis Felton. Also, my conversation with Keelan Johnson and Ben Zambezi. Here comes the rush, and down goes Hearns. Quarterback sack for Darius Dewberry. Actually, Jeremy Lomax.
Martinez dials up the blitz there. He's got Asher Allen coming, Thomas Flowers on the blitz, and you see him come clean, a clean path to the quarterback. He feels it at the last minute, and Georgia just cleans up at that point. Martinez, first blitz we've seen out of Georgia, comes in a big situation.
Second quarterback sack of the season for Jeremy Lomax, the junior out of Jonesboro, Georgia, and Lovejoy High School, and a timeout called by Georgia here on fourth down to keep Western Carolina from running clock before attempting a field goal. So this is a time management, time conservation move by the Bulldogs, because they want to try to get their hands back on the ball and score here before the end of the first half.
See a couple of timeouts left for the Catamounts there. Martinez, a lot like Brian Van Gorder, the ex-defensive coordinator now with the Falcons. Their belief is you come out early in the game, you find out whether you can get pressure out of your front four. Then you decide whether you can or you can't. If you can't, you got to dial up some blitzes. And a big play on 3rd and 13, coming with the cornerback blitz that time and getting the pressure just the way he planned it and designed it up.
I tell you what, Kent Briggs was impressed with the Georgia defense. He said they sprint onto the field and they don't stop sprinting until they come off the field. And he was going to make a point of showing that to his team on Friday before they came over for the game. There, Lomax with the quarterback sack right there, setting up this 4th down and 13. And a 46-yard field goal attempt by Parsons here, almost in the middle of the field. He already has 2 field goals today of 29 and 41 yards, and this one is on its way, and this one is good. A 46-yard field goal by Jonathan Parsons. It's his longest field goal of the season, makes it a 17-9 game with exactly 1 minute to play here in the first half.
Well, we'll see how Georgia plays this. 1 timeout, a minute left. Get some work on the hurry-up 2-minute drill offensively. Maybe see if they can get down and get some points before they head in for the locker room.
I'm guessing that's exactly what Georgia wants to do, because they did burn the timeout there to keep Western Carolina from running clock. So you would think they burned the timeout so that they could do something with the ball again.
And you would expect them to come away with good field position here. Western Carolina's tried that pooch stuff. And, hey, worst case scenario, Georgia's been getting it at the 35-yard line.
You can catch Georgia football replays every Monday at 12 and 9 Eastern on CSS. If you're watching this game on pay-per-view, that means you can catch it again on Monday at noon and 9 o'clock on your source for Southeast Sports.
Asher Allen back deep, looking to make something happen here. I'd scoot those guys up a little bit, getting ready for that pooch kick.
That's another change in Georgia today. I mean, we had a number of changes in the starting lineup. Thomas Brown had been returning the kickoffs, but Asher Allen's been getting that assignment today.
This kid's a player. Played against his dad in high school down in Albany. His dad was a fine football player.
Asher starred at Tucker, Georgia High School, just like Thomas Brown did, and another pooch kick. Fair catch is called for and made by Bruce Figgins at the 35-yard line. So that's where Georgia goes and play. No time came off the clock. So the Bulldogs 65 yards away and 60 seconds with which to work.
Nice job by the freshman tight end from Columbus, Bruce Figgins, you're seeing coming off the field. Boy, he looks good getting off the bus, doesn't he? They are really high on this young man.
Had an 11-yard touchdown catch in the Bulldogs opener against Oklahoma State. His actual playing time, getting reps on game plays, has been cut back since Trip Chandler came back from the suspension.
All right, you got to get the ball downfield. You got to get out of bounds if the ball's in your hands. Save that timeout.
So Stafford dumps it off to Moreno. Got Haverkamp out there blocking for him. Moreno's off to the races and gets dropped at the 43-yard line by Chris Collins, the safety, but a first down for Georgia as the clock stops with 50 seconds.
And another good call is the screen pass to the running back, because he's your playmaker. 2-4 gets it. He's out in the open space. Probably wanted more than he got on that one.
So 1st and 10 for Georgia. Ball spotted at the 41-yard line. Stafford rolling to his right, throwing downfield, and it is caught by Muhammad Massaquoi, stepping out of bounds at the 23, and the clock stops with 41 seconds.
Well-conceived play there. They roll Stafford this time, getting out of the pocket a little bit, something new, and then Massaquoi from the slot running the deep out cut.
So the Bulldogs have moved it 42 yards in a matter of just 19 seconds.
Nice thing about Stafford, he's comfortable in the pocket, he's comfortable out of the pocket, throwing the football, looking very smooth.
1st and 10 for the Bulldogs at the 24-yard line. Handoff goes to Moreno. Moreno with a gaping hole to the left. Cuts inside the 10, runs to the pylon, and scores the touchdown. Knowshon Moreno, a 24-yard touchdown run. That's his first collegiate touchdown. Gives Georgia a 23-9 lead.
Well, I think that's a nice little 2-minute drill you had going there. From your own 35, a minute to play. They did not even have to use the timeout. Screenplay, Moreno busted. Rollout completion to Massaquoi, nice play. And then 1st down and 10, Western Carolina playing the pass, forgetting about the running game, and Moreno knows what to do with it.
Brandon Catu puts it through, and with 30 seconds to play in the first half, the Georgia Bulldogs up by 15 on the 24-yard touchdown run by Knowshon Moreno.
Boy.
Nice block by Sutherland.
Oh, yeah, he bounced outside, and you look at the receivers throwing downfield. Henderson didn't even get a chance to get a hand on him. And 24, he can smell that end zone. Looks like he's comfortable taking it to the house.
So after being held to a 37-yard field goal by Brandon Catu in the first quarter, the Bulldogs have responded with 3 touchdowns here in the second quarter, Moreno's being the third. Thomas Brown scored from 10 yards out on a run, and also Matthew Stafford hit Sean Bailey on a 15-yard touchdown pass. So the Bulldogs, who have not necessarily put Western Carolina away here today like a lot of folks might expect it, have now opened up a 2-touchdown lead. It was a 3-play, 65-yard drive. And very impressive in that the Bulldogs chewed up the yards very quickly and didn't even have to use that one timeout, as you pointed out, Buck, that they had remaining.
Make you feel a little better if you're Coach Richt or a member of that red coat band. Boy, they're great, aren't they? Livening up the crowd here at Sanford Stadium. Well, I thought they were going to fall asleep early in the game, but they're back into it.
Well, the Bulldogs have now reached their scoring average, averaging 23.5 points per game in the first 2 games. They're now at 24 here today, approaching halftime, averaging 135 on the ground and 223 through the air for 358 yards total has been their average in the first 2 games. So Brandon Catu will kick off to Western Carolina, and Mike Moore standing deep for the Catamounts. This will be a shorter kick than Malone, rather, not Mike Moore, but Malone picks up at the 15-yard line. And Brandon Miller again on the special teams tackle.
Well, there's some guys flying around out there on these kickoffs.
And Western Carolina goes back on offense at the 33 with 23 seconds to play here in the first half.
Brandon Miller, nice little tackle. C.J. Bird flying around. You see these top players now on the kickoff cover team trying to slow down these game breakers.
So Todd Spitzer comes back.
Cincinnati. Found a home in Cullowhee.
Handoff goes to Willie Harper. Harper not much doing on the play. Got dropped by Jeff Owens, the defensive tackle out of Sunrise, Florida. And that might have been the final play of the first half.
Owens treating him rudely on that play. Did you see that? Looked like a big bear in the woods getting him down.
Western Carolina trying to run another play. Nope, they're not going to run another play, and that's going to be in the first half. So the Bulldogs and the Catamounts have played 30 minutes here at Sanford Stadium. A little sluggish for Georgia at times, but they woke up with 3 touchdowns in the second quarter. And the 2 teams head to the locker room with Georgia leading Western Carolina by a score of 24-9. The Bulldogs outscoring the Catamounts by a score of 21-6 in that second quarter. And let's go down on the field to Allison Williams.
Coach Richt, things started a little slow to begin the game. How do you carry the momentum you picked up in the second quarter into the second half?
Well, hopefully we'll keep playing hard. I mean, that's the whole thing. I think we gave them some life on that turnover. We gave them some life on a kick return, allowing them to drive the short field. If we can keep them driving the long field and don't turn it over, I think we'll be okay.
This defense has allowed 100 points in the first 2 games. How do you exploit that in the second half?
Well, hopefully we'll just block and you know, take care of the ball. I mean, we're not doing anything fancy. We're just trying to execute. That's all.
All right, great. Thanks, Coach. And we'll be joined by another Georgia coach after the break as Dennis Felton joins Matt Stewart in the booth. Johnson, exceptional not only on the field but also off the field. He was named this week to the NCAA Good Works team. Now he is out today as he rests his sore ribs, but he'll be back in the grind next week. And now we go back to the booth with Matt and Buck.
All right, thank you, Allison. And Buck will have a test on Swahili at the end of today's broadcast. So I hope
fail that one. I know Geechee.
I was hoping that you were listening to Keelan Johnson right there. Very impressive young man. We hopefully that he'll be back and ready to play against Alabama next Saturday in Tuscaloosa. Buck, let's take a look look at the first half highlights. Georgia getting off to a slow start here and having to settle for a field goal at the end of their first possession.
Yeah, and they get somebody free coming on a pass rush, too, with a clean shot at Matthew Stafford. Bulldog defense, a nice job here holding Western Carolina to a field goal. Job well done by Willie Martinez and his group in the first half.
So it was a 3-3 game at the end of one quarter, but Georgia finally got their offense on track, dumping it off there to Thomas Brown.
Wrapped up a nice little drive and really got untracked in the second quarter. Some positive first down plays. Getting the ball downfield. You see the stick on the dig to Massaquoi, getting him involved. Matthew Stafford very sharp today, 11 for 14 in the first half. And you're seeing Knowshon Moreno making all the big plays, over 2 plays over 20 yards, runs of 7, 9, 12, and you saw the 24-yard touchdown run there. 10 touches in the first half. He's got it going on.
Buck, the first half stats.
Well, you see rushing yards, Georgia with only 43 rushing yards, but the passing game untracked. That stands out, and defensively you see Western Carolina sort of bogged down offensively. Willie Martinez and his group doing a pretty nice job.
Yeah, only 43 yards rushing for the Bulldogs there in the first half, and 24 of those came on that touchdown run by Knowshon Moreno that we just showed you. Georgia with the lead at halftime, and we'll come back with the start of the second half in just a moment. Halftime here at Sanford Stadium, where the 25th ranked Georgia Bulldogs lead the Western Carolina Catamounts by a score of 24-9. The Bulldogs looking to improve to 2-1 on the season and drop Western Carolina to 0-3. We have 30 minutes to play, and the Bulldogs will be receiving the second half kickoff. Asher Allen standing deep for the Bulldogs at the 10-yard line. And here's another pooch kick, and Bruce Figgins calls for another fair catch and makes it at the 32-yard line. So that's where Georgia will put the ball in play to start this third quarter.
Well, really finished the first half on the up and up with that 4-play touchdown drive. Matthew Stafford directing that. And you want to come back out here in the third quarter, reestablish that momentum, and build some confidence. We talked about it coming into the game. This passing game needs some confidence as they head on the road to Tuscaloosa next Saturday. I think they got a little bit in the first half.
Matthew Stafford, 11 of 14 in the first half for 152 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pass to Thomas Brown, and a pass to Sean Bailey. Handoff goes to Thomas Brown. Thomas Brown, not a whole lot of running room, but he did get an extra effort and stumble forward for an extra 2 yards up to the 37 or 38-yard line.
Well, it's one thing getting your hands on Thomas Brown. It's a completely different thing getting him on the ground. Strongest guy pound for pound on this football team, and you see just fighting and spinning and scratching and clawing, and the next thing you know, he's picked up 6 yards.
He did get 6 yards on that play, so 2nd down and 4 for the Bulldogs.
They say he can squat the Butts Mare building. I'd have to see that one.
Bailey, Wilson, and Massaquoi, the wide receivers for the Bulldogs. Stafford back to pass, guns it, and off the hands of Sean Bailey at the 49-yard line.
Well, you have to just say what it is. It's a drop is what that is. Ball right there where it needs to be.
Bring up 3rd and 4.
Shotgun formation. Stafford, a nice job of going to the open man. Ball right on the money, right, hit him right on number 4.
So 3rd down and 4 now for Georgia from the 39. Thomas Brown now splits out and joins the wide receivers in a 4 wide receiver set lined up in a diamond to the right of the offensive line.
Yeah, and another receiver to the left side, 5 receivers out wide.
Stafford going to run a quarterback draw, picks up the 1st down and more. Stafford runs across the 45, slides out of bounds at the 40-yard line. A 21-yard pickup for Matthew Stafford on the quarterback draw.
Well, simply too easy for Matt that time. Mike Bobo, well-designed play, and it worked just like you drew it up on that dry erase board. Nobody there with the 4 wide receivers set to the right, nobody in the middle of the field. And Matt, as you've seen, can pull that thing down and run with it.
So 1st and 10, ball at the 40-yard line for the Georgia Bulldogs as they look to add to their 24-9 lead. Now the Bulldogs with one wide receiver, Tony Wilson. Handoff goes to Thomas Brown, and Thomas Brown picks up about 5 yards, maybe 6, down to the 34.
And you're seeing some movement up front along that offensive line. Point of attack right there. Velasco and Bowling, Haverkamp getting a nice little push there on the line of scrimmage, and you saw a big hole. Watch Sutherland get up in the hole with nobody to block, and Thomas following right behind him.
And on that play right there, the Bulldogs went double tight end, had Bruce Figgins in the game. Now they go back to 2 wide receivers.
Getting a push up front, that's a good sign.
Durham and Henderson, the wide receivers, and that's Henderson in motion behind the line. Handoff goes to Brandon Sutherland. Nothing doing on the carry that time. Keenan Orr, the defensive tackle out of Durham, North Carolina, and South Durham High School, making the tackle for the Catamounts.
Big Daddy all excited too, getting up, shaking it a little bit. Excited. Georgia had nothing on the play, running right behind Bowling at right guard, and he got handled on the line of scrimmage. Nowhere to run.
Keenan Orr starting in place of the injured John Martin, the senior out of Cherokee, North Carolina. And out of all the injuries, Coach Kent Briggs said that probably was one that really hurt the most, because from a physical standpoint, John Martin, one of those guys that can hold his ground against the Bulldogs. Pass is complete to Durham at the 27-yard line, and a first down for Georgia.
And really, this guy is fundamentally sound, Durham. Watch him work back to the football. It's a curl route, zone coverage. He sits in there, not only finds the open spot, but he's coming back to get the football. He doesn't wait on it.
Second catch of the season for Durham, the sophomore out of Calhoun, Georgia High School. Had 8 catches a year ago. Massaquoi, Henderson, and Durham in there at wide receiver.
Spreading the field, really a 3 wide receiver look to the left.
Stafford going for Durham in the end zone and could not hold on to it. Got his hands on it, but couldn't haul it in.
Well thrown football by Stafford, put some touch on it. A little out and up by Durham. Had his man whipped, and Matt throwing with some touch on the football. Tell you what, if he catches, you hear Mike Bobo next to us saying catch the football. If he catches it going up, doesn't bobble it, could have been 6 there.
Well,
frustration coming out of the coach's box next to us.
You would think that Chris Durham would be a guy that would become a candidate to be that type of wide receiver. He's a big target at 6'5", and he can go up there and get it. Pass is thrown, it's complete to Mikey Henderson, and Mikey Henderson down to the 13-yard line and a first down.
Well, twin wide receivers set to the left. Massaquoi and Henderson. Henderson, the outside receiver, just running a little curl route. He sits down, and nobody underneath him in coverage. Really pitching and catching right there with Stafford and Mikey Henderson.
Second catch of the season for Mikey Henderson, or second catch of the day for Mikey Henderson. He already has more catches this season than last. You see Georgia last 2 games in the red zone, very successful against the Cowboys, not so against the Gamecocks. Handoff. Thomas Brown down inside the 10-yard line to the 7.
And they are running that football coming out. I bet there was a little talk at halftime with Stacy Searles saying, guys, we got to get a little push up front and run this football. Got to have some balance heading into Tuscaloosa. Seeing some nice holes here early in the second half.
So 2nd down and 4 for the Bulldogs. Ball at the 7-yard line.
Have some tight coverage outside on the receivers. Kenneth Harris and Tony Wilson in the game. Look for a fade.
Stafford trying to get it to Bruce Figgins, and there was contact over there. That was actually Kenneth Harris, not Bruce Figgins, and we hadn't seen Kenneth Harris in a long time, and not much this year, but no flag thrown on that play.
Well, you see the man from Cherryville, North Carolina, right? Kenneth Harris down there just spinning around in the end zone. You wonder what that's all about there. You see the tight coverage, tries to go a little inside move to gain the advantage, but ball's thrown outside. Really, Matthew Stafford letting him down with the throw.
Carlton Bailey, the senior out of Jonesboro, Georgia, on the coverage for Western Carolina, and Coach Briggs said this would be a big game for Carlton Bailey as far as his aspirations of getting to the NFL, a chance for him to prove that he can match up against some of these big wide receivers in the Southeastern Conference. Pass is thrown, complete to Kenneth Harris at the 4-yard line and close to a first down.
Stafford feeling some pressure and had to get rid of the football, and nice job of finding 88. A little short crossing route by Harris. You see the inside pressure. Getting a little push up there inside right in Stafford's face, and he gets rid of it. Gets a positive play out of it.
It's 4th down and 1. Georgia's going to go for the first down or the touchdown. Either way, they're not kicking the field goal here. They run 2 tight ends in.
Now remember, you got a quarterback, good 225, 230 pounds here. You want a quarterback sneak it.
So Figgins lines up at the right tight end and Chandler on the left. They hand off to Thomas Brown. He follows Chandler and Sutherland into the end zone for the touchdown, and it's 30-9.
67-yard touchdown drive for the Dogs coming out of the locker room. That'll make Mark Richt and his coaching staff and the fan base a little more comfortable here. Ended the first half on the up and up, and a nice job here. Power running play, I formation. Look at Sutherland. Get a shot in there, and Thomas Brown not even touched as he gets it in the end zone.
Second touchdown of the day for Thomas Brown. Katu is good on the PAT. 4 minutes and 57 seconds into the third quarter. The Georgia Bulldogs have opened up a 31-9 lead on Western Carolina. Ten minutes and 3 seconds to play in the third quarter. Georgia leading Western Carolina by a score of 31-9, as the Bulldogs have now had 4 consecutive touchdown drives. There's the drive that Buck was telling you about. 12 plays and 67 yards to open up the second half. And Thomas Brown now with 4 touchdowns on the season, 2 more here today, and the 12th player to have eclipsed 2,000 career rushing yards. Congratulations to Thomas Brown.
Yeah, TB, man, he's a rough and tough kind of guy. He likes the contact, likes the competition. Now sharing some of that spot with the redshirt freshman, Knowshon Moreno. They've got a nice little tandem thing working. You see him headbutting, he's ready to go.
Bulldogs with only 43 yards rushing in the first half. They had 43 yards rushing on that drive alone, so they're now up to 86 here today.
Stacy Searles a little happier as I check him out on the sideline down there with the Hogs. Got some push out of the offensive line that time. Good to see.
So Brandon Katu to kick off, and Mike Malone will take it at the 3-yard line. Malone, another nice return, and for the third time today, Brandon Miller makes the tackle on special teams, and there's a flag down as well. So Brandon Miller, name not being called necessarily on defense, but 3 special teams tackles by Brandon Miller today.
Well, a real team player here. He demoted. It's a tough thing to take as a senior, but you know, a good example to his teammates. You know, he's not pouting. He's not walking around with his head down. He's going out and he's making things happen on special teams.
Yeah, I would think that says a lot about his character, that a senior who loses his starting job, at least for today, is out there making tackles on special teams.
On the receiving team, half the distance to the goal, first down.
You see the penalty on Western Carolina, and so they start in a hole to begin the second half. Ball way back at the 9.5 following the penalty mark-off.
Katu with a deep leg today, really getting a good drive on it. There you see Miller getting the ball carry on the turf. Miller's replacement, Hakeem Dent. Good first half out of him, 4 tackles in the first half.
Spitzer in there, quarterback for Western Carolina. We saw Hearns for 1 series in the second quarter, and the handoff right into the teeth of the Georgia defense. Doesn't get very much, just a couple of yards, maybe up to the 12-yard line.
Yeah, Dent getting his first tackle of the second half from that strong side linebacker spot. This is a very athletic group they've got in there with Dewberry, Ellerby, Dent. You're talking about guys that are very athletic, can run, love to strike you.
Only 13 yards passing for Spitzer in this ball game. Only 34 total for Western Carolina. Georgia had given up an average of 196 in their first 2 games.
Base package for the Dogs on D.
Second down. Handoff goes to Malone, trying to kick it outside and will not get there. Nice open field tackle by Thomas Flowers, the senior cornerback out of Austell, Georgia.
That really fires up the team and really the fans here when you see that little guy, the cornerback, coming up, laying the wood to the ball carry. And Thomas Flowers, the guy that's not scared now. He'll stick his head in there.
Thomas Flowers had come into today's action with 7 tackles in his first 2 games, which I think is more than he'd pretty much had in his entire career. Mainly been a guy that has contributed on special teams throughout his career. 3rd down and 5, make it 6 now with the ball on the 14-yard line. Spitzer going to throw and incomplete, trying to connect at the 21-yard line with Nick Miller, and it's going to be 4th down and a punting situation for Western Carolina.
3-and-out punt. Martinez has got to love that. The offense and defense comes out strong here in the second half. A little quick pass, trying to get the receiver right to the 1st down marker. Should be able to make that play. Asher Allen coming up, putting a little pressure on that receiver.
Mikey Henderson stands at near midfield for Georgia, and Parsons is standing a foot deep in his end zone to make this kick. Actually not Parsons, but Stephen Brown. Low snap, picks it up off the ground, a line drive kick that Henderson should be able to return. Bobbled it though and picks it up at the 38. Looking for a block from Brandon Miller. And Henderson gets up to the 41-yard line, so all things said and done, not too bad considering he had to go back and get that thing after he fumbled it. And again, Brandon Miller on special teams throwing a block there. Watch number 12. He's the guy back there in front of Mikey Henderson and throws a block. Right there's 12 right there. Nice block right here. Almost a block in the back too.
Yeah, I was looking for some of those yellow flags down. I didn't see any. Joe Cox in the game now, quarterback with a 31-9 lead. A lot of people wondering when they'd see Joe Cox. Well, here's your first shot today.
So Joe Cox comes into the ball game, the redshirt sophomore out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and Independence High School. First action of the season after playing in 4 games last year, making 1 start. That was the start at Ole Miss after he had engineered the comeback against Colorado. 17 of 28 a year ago for 225 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. D'Amico Goodman and TJ Gartrell going to check into the ball game at wide receiver. Goodman, I think, played a little bit against Oklahoma State.
He's been coming on strong, Matt. Really advancing, coming off a knee injury, and look for him to get more playing time as the year comes along.
And Gartrell, whose daddy Ron is the head coach at Stevenson High School, did not play at all last year because of injury. So you got Gartrell and Goodman. Of course, Goodman out of Noonan High School suffered a knee injury last season after he really had started to come on as a wide receiver. So good to see those 2 young men getting into the mix here midway through the 3rd quarter.
Matthew Stafford's fine. He's on the sideline. He's got the towel wrapped around him, talking with some of the puppies on that offensive line. There you see Matt. Really a nice day. Came out and was sharp early in the game, and you see 14 for 20, 174 yards, a couple of touchdowns, and a nice little run there as they got things started here in the second half on that quarterback draw. So it'll be more fun than last week.
So it'll be 1st and 10 for the Bulldogs from their own 42-yard line, and we'll see if we can pick up any other reserves who might be getting into the ball game now, as it looks like Mark Richt going to loosen up the bench a little bit and get some of these other guys some playing time. Looks like Chris Davis, who had not been in since the 1st quarter, I think. He's back in there at guard, and Haverkamp switches over to the other guard. Adams stays in at tackle, so Bowling has gone to the bench, but Bowling has played most of the game, actually started today. Toss goes to Knowshon Moreno. Moreno looking for a gap and brought down by Collins, but he picks up about 5 or 6 yards on the play, and there's a flag down on the field.
A little extracurricular going on. Really a nice job on the backside. Trenton Sturdivant, freshman offensive tackle, getting that backside guy on the ground, which allows for that cutback you saw.
Personal foul, number 63, offense.
That's Chris Davis.
15-yard penalty, 2nd down.
So Chris Davis, the young man who I mentioned, had not played much since the 1st quarter, comes right back off the field, and Bowling goes in for him. Got to answer to Stacy Searles now.
Well, yeah, and that can't be a fun thing, too, coming over there talking to him.
But we had talked to Mark Richt yesterday, as a matter of fact, leading up to this ball game about, as he's going to get some of the more offensive linemen in there. But he said, it's really difficult because 5 of the 7 offensive linemen they're playing on a regular basis are pretty inexperienced themselves, and they need the experience of playing today.
Davis a little ornery there. No sense in doing that. He pushes the man to the ground after the play's over with.
Second down. Cox going to the air, complete to D'Amico Goodman, who makes a nice hand catch at the 50-yard line.
Really like the way this kid's coming on. Looks like a receiver, and you see him playing like a receiver there. A little slant route, and Joe Cox puts it right on the money. But it's in tight traffic here. He's going to take a shot in between the corner and safety there. And you see Goodman saying, man, if I'm going to get hit, I'm going to catch the football and protect himself, too.
And Goodman's a young man who's got a lot of speed, was a track star at Noonan High School.
Get him the ball.
3rd down and 2. Cox again wants to throw. Guns it, and incomplete this time. Was trying to go back to D'Amico Goodman, who had to reach behind him that time. Carlton Bailey broke it up, and it's 4th down.
Well, Joe just staring down Goodman that time, and coverage was on. They had 3 guys in the area around Goodman. He's got to come back weak side where he had a couple guys working in open field there to his left. He just locks on to Goodman, says, I'm going to him regardless.
Brian Mims on to punt for the first time today.
Number 9, Eddie Cohen.
And he's standing at the 35-yard line to kick it away. And Eddie Cohen is deep for Western Carolina back at the 10. Nice high kick from Mims. Cohen calls for a fair catch and makes it at the 10-yard line. And there's a flag on the field at the line of scrimmage. So we'll check that call here from our official Thomas Ritter. But barring a penalty against Georgia, and it is a penalty against Georgia, and I'm guessing that Western Carolina is going to make them kick this one again. Speaking of wide receivers, the Bulldog wide receiver corps down a man this week after A.J. Bryant underwent surgery on his knee on Tuesday, and he's going to be out about 4 weeks. He got hurt on that play. Remember the trick play they tried to run against or one of the trick plays, I should say, that they tried to run against South Carolina last week, that double pass, and he got hurt on that play.
It's unfortunate. He's getting a reputation for being a guy that's always hurt, A.J. Bryant. And you talk to the coaching staff, and you ask who's the best athletes on the team, and A.J. Bryant's name always comes up in the top 3, but constantly he's injured, not able to go.
Never has really materialized for A.J. Bryant. He actually joined Georgia early after he graduated early from Peach County High School after they won the state championship, and joined them for bowl practice that year. But
some guys are just injury prone.
Bailey calls for a fair catch, makes it at the 12-yard line. So Western Carolina nets 2 yards on that exchange, and so they start at the 12 instead of the 10. So the Western Carolina Catamounts go back on offense with 6:26 to play in the 3rd quarter. .626 to play in the 3rd quarter. Georgia leading Western Carolina by a score of 31-9. Catch the Dog Report every Monday at 7:30 with replays Thursday at 2. Join me along with Buck Ballou and Matt Stinchcomb as we look back at Georgia's most recent game. This week, of course, Western Carolina, and look ahead to the next, which will be Alabama. It's the Dog Report Mondays at 7:30 Eastern on CSS.
Anxious to find out the kickoff for the Alabama game, 3:30, or that evening game on ESPN2. Guess we'll find out in the next 24 hours.
I hope you've been paying attention, because every week on the Dog Report we choose our offensive, defensive, and special teams players of the game. So I hope you've been keeping track over there, Buck.
Yeah, I'm taking some notes over here.
Good. So 1st and 10 with the ball at the 12-yard line. We have a lot of fun on that show, except for that Matt Stinchcomb fella.
You're not worried about me, are you? We've been together too long for that.
Yeah. Stinchcomb's the interloper. He's the newcomer, isn't he? He's trying to horn in on our business. No, he does a great job. Glad to have him along after playing 9 years in the NFL. He's joined the dark side, the television side.
Yeah, doing a nice job on the high school games on 680 The Fan on Friday night.
So 1st and 10, ball at the 12-yard line for Western Carolina. Mike Malone gets the handoff and then gets dropped immediately.
Big old Geno Atkins, he's coming on strong. Here's another young player, sophomore, that's getting more and more playing time and really taking advantage of it.
Yeah, Geno Atkins coming into the ball game led the Georgia Bulldogs in tackles for loss, and that's another one right there. That gives him 5 tackles for loss this season for the sophomore out of Pembroke Pines, Florida, and St. Thomas Aquinas High School.
Willie Martinez and Mark Richt have a lot of roots, contacts down in that South Florida area.
Yeah, that's where they grew up.
He's one of the guys that they were able to bring in.
For those people who don't know, Willie Martinez and Mark Richt were teammates at the University of Miami, so their connection goes a long way back. Malone gets dropped in the backfield again. Danell Ellerby lost his helmet and came up shaking his shaggy mane.
Yeah, he's up there a few dance moves here. I'm going to have to work on that one. Use that one on the next Friday night at home, but great recognition, a little draw play. He's not buying that quarterback dropping back. He reads and sniffs that thing out. 33 is a player.
Junior out of Hamlet, North Carolina, and Richmond High School. Now it's 3rd down and 19. Catamounts losing 9 yards on consecutive running plays. Handoff, Malone just does get out of the end zone as the linebacker Darius Dewberry comes up to put a helmet on him, and it's going to be 4th down. And they're going to be kicking out of the back of their end zone.
Michael Lemon also in there, the defensive end spot. Got a lot of people back there in the backfield wreaking havoc. It's Lemon's first playing time. Is that?
I think he got in a little bit against Oklahoma State, just a little bit. So Stephen Brown will be kicking from the back of his end zone. A short formation here because they're bunched up against the boundary, and the play is blown dead before they can snap it. And a timeout call by Western Carolina.
Timeout. Western Carolina, that is their first charge timeout this half.
First timeout called by the Catamounts, who are in danger of falling to 0-3 on the season. Tough sledding for Kent Briggs and his crew here to start the 2007 campaign.
The GeorgiaDogs.com T-Shop is the ultimate destination for the University of Georgia sports fan. With a terrific selection of over 1,100 items, GeorgiaDogs.com has everything a Bulldog fan needs. Go to GeorgiaDogs.com today to get t-shirts, jerseys, hats, watches, accessories, and more. Plus, you'll get great customer service and $4.99 shipping on every order. The GeorgiaDogs.com T-Shop, where Georgia fans go to shop.
.4:13 to play here in the 3rd quarter. Punt comes to Mikey Henderson. Henderson goes down at the 33-yard line. So great field position, Buck, for the Georgia Bulldogs here. Already leading by a score of 31-9, and we see Mark Richt starting to empty some of his bench. Joe Cox got in on the previous possession. He'll be back out there, and probably he'll be finishing up the game.
A lot of young players, some puppies. They're trying to coach up and get some playing time, and a nice time for that today as you polish up with the first units and then get a lot of these young guys in to get them some playing time, like Vince Vance now in the game at left offensive tackle.
Goodman and Gartrell remain in there at wide receiver along with Tony Wilson. Knowshon Moreno, the tailback. Vince Vance is a guy that Mark Richt had been talking during the week along with Clint Bowling as guys that are really pushing for more playing time. Pass is nearly intercepted.
Wow. Miko Watson could have taken that one to the house down there by the Georgia Bridge there beyond the end zone as Cox throws one out there. I guess never sees Watson in coverage. He's lucky that wasn't returned for 6.
Western Carolina has not, or coming into this ball game, had not forced any turnovers until they blindsided Matt Stafford back in the first quarter and recovered that fumble. That is the only turnover that the Catamounts defense has been able to come up with here in their first 3 games, but they nearly got one right there. Toss goes to Moreno. He's going to cut back. Haverkamp down on his knees trying to throw some blocks, and Moreno ended up getting about 8 yards on the play.
Well, he's a tough guy to keep an eye on. He's all over the place.
If we see a replay here, watch number 70, Haverkamp. He's down on his knees. He got knocked down on the play, and he's crawling around. He's crawling around looking for someone to block. I don't know if you can really see it right there. There he is. Haverkamp down on the ground trying to grab somebody by the ankle.
Moreno with a nice stiff arm for a little guy. You've seen him use it 2-3 times already today. He's got the stiff arm. He's got the spin. He's got the acceleration.
It's 3rd down and 2 right here. Moreno gets the handoff again. He has the first down and more. Picks up another 10 yards down to the 15-yard line.
Well, there's some guys getting it done right there. Trip Chandler, rather, gets a pancake, and Vince Vance down the field with a pancake on that left side. Moreno knowing what to do with it.
Haverkamp comes off the field. Looks like he might have been shaken up a little bit.
Yeah, he got pushed back. He was the guy that got beat on the offensive line that play. See Sutherland leading the way for Knowshon Moreno.
So 1st and 10 for the Bulldogs at the 15-yard line. Chris Davis got back in there with Haverkamp out. Moreno picks up about 4 yards down to the 11-yard line. If he stays in the ball game long enough, he might get up over 100 yards again. He's up to 73 yards. Actually, we've got him at 91. The stats monitor is slow, so we got him at 91 yards right now.
See, Haverkamp had to come over and regroup after getting pushed back there. Knowshon, 10 touches in the first half, and you got to love the playmaking ability. 2 plays over the 20 yards and then runs of 24 for the touch, 12, 9, 7, making things happen.
Gets the ball again, tries to run behind Vance and gets inside the 10-yard line, and then Vance ends up falling on top of him.
With a little help, that guy's pushing him over. Vance is a hard guy to miss at 6'8", 320 pounds from Bradwell Institute in Hinesville.
I wouldn't want him to follow me. 6'8", 330. One of the junior college transfers that the Bulldogs added to their lineup this year, Haverkamp being another. Jarius Wynn.
Tell you what, they've got another young kid there now, Keontae Tripp, at offensive tackle that will be special in years to come.
Hadn't gotten in the ball game today, though. Handoff goes to Thomas Brown, hurdles a man, jumped right over Vince Vance, who was down on his knees, and Thomas Brown picks up a 5-yard, actually picks up a first down inside the 5-yard line.
Well, you just see he just attacks the line of scrimmage. There is no hesitation out of number 20 right here. He sees it, he reacts, and he goes after it. Not worried about the body.
Well, that's evident when you're trying to hurdle Vince Vance. 1st and goal at the 3-yard line. No regard for health and welfare.
Yeah, they worry about that later when he retires.
Brandon Sutherland battering ram into the end zone touchdown. 3-yard touchdown run for Brandon Sutherland. That's his first touchdown of the season. He had 10 last year, and it's 37-9.
Another 67-yard touchdown drive there with a lot of good things going on. Young players on the field, and they put it together. Sutherland's just a touchdown maker. He knows where the goal line is. He always seems to get there.
Brandon Catu with the PAT, and 1 minute and 1 second to play in the 3rd quarter. Georgia now leading Western Carolina 38-9. .61 seconds to play in the 3rd quarter. Georgia now leading Western Carolina by a score of 38-9. Bulldogs held to 3 points in the 1st quarter, but have opened it up with 5 consecutive touchdowns. Only 1 punt during that mix. 7 plays, 33 yards to get that touchdown right there following the short punt by Western Carolina. Malone will take it at the 10. Up across the 30 to the 32, and that's where Western Carolina goes back on offense. Let's see if they go to Hearns here. They used Adam Hearns once in the first half, and he was able to lead them to a field goal. We'll also check to see as Georgia gets some of their reserves in on defense. I see Quentin Banks is now checked in at safety alongside C.J. Bird. Prince Miller's in at cornerback. Ramarcus Brown, who we mentioned earlier, getting some time at cornerback. Rennie Curran, the true freshman from Brookwood High School, in there at linebacker, along with Marcus Washington and Brandon Miller. Spitzer still the quarterback. Toss goes to Willie Harper, trying to run around the corner, and tackled by Prince Miller about 7 yards downfield. There's a tackle on the play. Georgia also has Jeff Owens, DeMarcus Dobbs, Jarius Wynn, and Jeremy Lomax on the defensive line.
And at safety right there, Quentin Banks, redshirt freshman from Warner Robins, got caught inside a little bit. The trash, got caught up in the trash, couldn't get out on the corner to defend that play. You see Rennie Curran there, 35. Tell you what, he's a heck of a football player from Brookwood, Snellville.
Know him very well.
9 on the offense, 10 yards from the spot of the foul. Still first down.
Yeah, Rennie Curran was a 3-year star at Brookwood High School. In fact, all 3 years, starting from his sophomore year, was named to our all-Chevy team in Atlanta on the games we televise on Comcast Cable in Atlanta.
Yeah, they list him a little undersized. They list him at 5'11", 220.
Sideline to sideline speed. Yeah.
He plays much bigger than that.
Harper on the carry. Gets it back to the 27-yard line. Might have been the final play of the third quarter.
Hey, there's my my buddy from Valdosta State. He's worked on that staff with Mike Cabin. Dave Napier, linebacker coach for Western Carolina. This guy is one of the toughest guys I've ever been around, and look at the expression. You can tell he is none too pleased about what that scoreboard looks like at 38-9. He's like the inspirational guy for Western Carolina. In your face.
We played 45 minutes, 15 to go at Sanford Stadium. Georgia in control and leading Western Carolina 38-9. Start of the fourth quarter, Georgia leading Western Carolina 38-9, and let's check in with Allison Williams.
Well, guys, you know you can't have Bulldog football without the Georgia Bulldog, of course. I'm talking about Uga the Sixth. He is actually the biggest Uga ever at 65 pounds, and with the win today, he will have the most wins of any of the previous Bulldogs, and that's a 51-year history going all the way back to his great-great-great-grandfather. And you know when you're the big dog on campus, you get to watch the game in style. Uga's doghouse, yeah, it's air conditioned. I think I might have to head over there and see if he's got room for two.
All right, thank you, Allison.
Well, my favorite was Uga 3. And his last game was our national championship win over Notre Dame.
Went out on top, right?
Absolutely.
Second down and 16 for Western Carolina as we start the fourth quarter. Bulldogs up by 29. Things will get a little bit more serious for the Bulldogs next week as they travel to Alabama.
Ooh.
Blitz was coming that time from Rennie Curran. Pass was complete to Nick Miller at the 30-yard line. Short gain.
Martinez bringing both inside linebackers, a little twist out of those guys, and Curran comes free with a clear path to the quarterback. And as a quarterback back there, that's one thing you can see. You can see that inside blitzer coming free, running right at you.
Third down and 13 now. Ball at the 30-yard line.
Got to stand in there tough when it happens.
Georgia with 4 consecutive SEC games coming up after this week. They'll be at Alabama, come back home against Ole Miss, and then consecutive games on the road at Tennessee and at Vanderbilt. Play's going to be blown dead. Western Carolina will play host to Presbyterian next week. That'll be their home opener. And then their Southern Conference opener comes a week later at Georgia Southern.
Yeah, Chris Hatcher and them down in Statesboro are doing a nice job.
5-yard penalty, remains 3rd down.
Actually got a running quarterback down there.
Kent Briggs, Buck mentioned it earlier, a cancer survivor, battled cancer, head and throat cancer 2 years ago.
Talked about the attitude. You know, felt like as a head coach you're addressing the attitude with your players all the time. And, you know, the first thing that hit him when he found out is he's got to have the right attitude fighting that off.
3rd down, quarterback sack back at the 15-yard line. Marcus Washington came on the blitz and leveled Todd Spitzer, and it's 4th down.
Talking about a man 250 pounds in Marcus Washington, and he's coming on too. They've got some healthy competition at linebacker going on. You see Marcus will come up the middle on a blitz, and wow, that's got to hurt.
Yeah, Mark Richt
right in the ear hole.
Specifically pointed out the play of Marcus Washington this week, and really kind of a surprise because he had a knee injury and they were not even sure how much he would be able to play this year, but he has recovered from that and has played very well here in the first 3 games. Low snap picked up off the ground by Brown, and Henderson will take it from the 45. Got to watch out for him. He is so dangerous. He gets in the middle of all that stuff, and you can't find him. He's so shifty and small. He kind of picks his way through there, and a first down for Georgia at the 35-yard line.
Well, you used to be able to say you couldn't put a hand on him in a phone booth, but these days it's tough to find a phone booth. You don't see those.
They don't make them anymore.
Look at him. I mean, right in the middle of things, and he's shifting. He's changing gears like a little sports car.
They've gone the way of the typewriter and the 8-track cassette. So 13:02 to play here in the ball game. Georgia leading Western Carolina 38-9. Joe Cox came in for Matthew Stafford in the third quarter, so Stafford's day done. A 14 for 20 day, 174 and a couple of touchdowns. And we'll come back with the rest of the fourth quarter in just a moment. Georgia leading Western Carolina 38-9. 1 minute 58 seconds into this fourth quarter. Catch 5 hours of high school football programming every Friday night on CSS. It all starts at 7 o'clock with the pregame show, and then our live game at 7:30. This week, the network game coming to you from Memphis, White Station at Germantown. Our Comcast viewers in Atlanta will see top-ranked Roswell at Walton. That's Friday nights on CSS. 1st and 10 with Joe Cox still in there at quarterback, standing in the pocket, going for the home run, and D'Amico Goodman, he makes a touchdown catch. Excuse me, my voice broke on that thing, but Goodman made a spectacular catch.
Well, he turned around. He wasn't sure if the ball was coming his way or not. Joe Cox had laid it out there. And once he saw that ball coming his way, you saw him shift it into another gear. He just runs by the Catamount cornerback and makes a gorgeous grab, extended in the end zone. They need this. They need wide receivers stepping up, making plays for them. Goodman looks like a guy that will be able to do that now.
That's the way to increase your playing time. Goodman with a spectacular grab in the corner of the end zone to make it 44-9. And Brandon Catu is once again perfect on that PAT, and Georgia has a 45-9 lead.
Takeoffs on both sides, and as a quarterback, you just try to select the side you believe you got the best matchup. And Cox knows that Goodman is a mismatch for this corner. Beautiful throw, and look at the catch. D'Amico Goodman.
Joe Cox, 3rd touchdown pass of his career. The other 2 came in that one game against Colorado when he had to come off the bench and rally the Bulldogs to a 14-13 victory. And Goodman there with a nice catch, who no doubt will get his name on the depth chart next week.
Came to Georgia as a track star, bona fide track star, and they are working him into a bona fide wide receiver now.
So the Bulldogs have opened up a 5-touchdown lead now. A.J. Bryant out for at least a month with that knee injury, giving congratulations to D'Amico Goodman.
Just accelerated once he saw that ball was coming his way.
And that's what's been missing. Yeah, you talked about the Bulldogs getting Sean Bailey back, but you would like to think if Goodman could play himself into a larger role in this offense, that you couple him along with Bailey and you actually have some pretty good speed on the outside, which is something Georgia has been lacking in their wide receiver corps.
Well, I was talking to Lindsey Scott earlier today, and Lindsey was bringing up the fact that he believes that 90–95% of the job at wide receiver is having confidence. Having confidence that if the ball comes your way, you're going to make that catch, whether it's on the money or just in the general area. And you haven't seen these receivers playing with a lot of confidence. A year ago, it was 4 touchdowns the whole season out of the wide receiver group, and now this year you're seeing guys make plays. Sean Bailey back making plays. Mohamed Massaquoi looking good. And now you got a guy like Goodman coming on. That's a great thing for this Georgia offense.
Speaking of wide receivers, it looks like Atlanta Falcons injured wide receiver Brian Finneran in the crowd here today, taking in the game.
He's in the house today, working on 680 The Fan in the mornings now. On the Rude Awakening, they call it. A little trip over for those guys. And Finneran, like DJ Shockley, they're workout partners now, trying to come back from knee injuries.
Finneran, a great wide receiver in college at Villanova, and really battled the odds to make it in the NFL. You hate to see the knee injury that he suffered, but hopefully he can come back from that.
I'm wondering who's looking after the kids. He's got a few of them.
Malone takes it. Actually, this is Nick Miller on the return this time, and Miller brings it up across the 30, up to the 35-yard line. So Nick Miller out of the Atlanta area get with the kickoff return, and so Western Carolina going back on offense at the 35-yard line, and their hole is a little bit deeper now.
Yeah, and you see Georgia now emptying the bench. Darrell Gamble and a redshirt freshman linebacker from Bainbridge. See Trip Taylor out there on the defensive line. Got a lot of new faces out there.
Yeah, up front the Bulldogs have Corby Irvin, Trip Taylor, Jeremy Lomax, and DeMarcus Dobbs. Gamble, Dent, and Curran are the linebackers. Hearn's back in there at quarterback, throwing on the run. It is complete to the tight end, Travis Osborne, at the 40-yard line. Dent and Ramarcus Brown on the tackle for Georgia.
Dent's having a big day here, getting his first start, and watch him make this play. He's fooled initially, but you see the speed and quickness to get back in the play, run down the receiver, and ends up making the tackle. That's what stands out with 51, is the ability to recover once he makes a mistake as far as recognition.
I remember the first time that I saw him play. He was a linebacker for Douglas High School. It was our Chevy Game of the Week, our season opener. He had 18 tackles in a 2-0 Douglas victory over Washington, and he was the guy who had the safety. Nothing doing on the running play for Western Carolina as they get really just right back to the line of scrimmage. That was Malone on the carry for Western Carolina.
Gamble, Curran on the tackle for Georgia. See, they got these puppies out there right now. This team's got to grow up a little bit. Unrealistic expectations to think that this group would come out and challenge for a championship this year. They've got some guys that are trying to find their way. Once they coach them up, though, and get a little experience, look out. There's a ton of talent on this Georgia roster.
Vance Cuff is also in the ball game now at cornerback, a true freshman.
Kid out of Moultrie.
Hearn slings it over to the far side to Malone, and Malone does not pick up the first down. And it's going to be 4th down for Western Carolina.
Vance Cuff waited a long time to get the clear that he was going to be able to come in here and play football this year. And had some clearinghouse problems to get through, but never once wavered there, and now he's out there making plays as a true freshman. Colquitt County High School.
The Packers, right?
Yeah, man. Ray Goff grew up playing great football down there.
It was Moultrie High School, though, when he was there, right?
Absolutely.
Not Colquitt County High School. Mikey Henderson, they kick it away from him. He will not be able to field this one. And the ball will be downed at the 25-yard line, and that's where the Georgia Bulldogs go back on offense with 10:18 to play in this ball game.
Well, now you're seeing the freshman offensive tackle there. Keontae Tripp will get his first playing time. 6'6", 270 pounds, out of Atlanta. Didn't know whether they wanted him at defensive line or on the offensive line, but he's back at offensive tackle now, and really highly thought of prospect.
Out of Westlake High School, and that's the same school that produced Sean Jones.
Josh Davis from Mississippi, another 6'6", 295-pound player, another redshirt freshman. All up and down this offensive line on the first and second team, you're seeing guys that are getting their first playing time. Josh Davis is a huge man, too. Might want to let him get off the bus first behind Vince Vance over in Tuscaloosa Saturday.
They got Kevin Perez in there playing center, too, number 75, a 6'3", 274-pound redshirt freshman out of Killian High School in Miami.
Now, one of the toughest jobs is Stacy Searles, trying to get this group, this offensive line with hardly no experience together and ready for the upcoming road trips you're going to see with Alabama looming, Tennessee looming, Vandy, Jacksonville.
Catch Sports Night weeknights at 6 and 11 Eastern here on CSS. Monday night, our NFL expert Ray Buchanan will be in studio as we take a look back at weekend number 2 in the NFL season. The Atlanta Falcons taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Ray Boo will be talking about that. Plus, our NASCAR expert Dan Elliott will be in studio as well, as the chase for the championship really begins with Jimmy Johnson on top of the chase.
Well, what about Tiger lapping the field at Eastlake? You going to get into that?
That's old.
All right.
That happens all the time. I mean, seriously. I mean, Tiger. I mean, at some point, I think Tiger's just going to have to retire so that somebody else can actually have a chance.
I was out there on Thursday. What a thrill to be hanging around with the world's best players at Eastlake.
Handoff goes to. We have to.
Got 233s now, don't we? That's not Danell Ellerby, I can tell you that.
Looking for it right now.
That's Daniels, is his name. You can see there. Daniels, number 33 for Georgia.
Daniels, the ball carrier for Georgia.
Okay, here we go. It is.
You were thinking Caleb King, weren't you? They're redshirting him.
Yeah, no, Caleb King wears number 22. It's Calvin Daniels. And I'll be honest with you, I've never heard of Calvin Daniels.
Well, you've heard of him now.
He's in there at tailback. Cox fires to Gartrell. T.J. Gartrell made the catch. D'Amico Goodman, you could see, raised his hands up in the air because he knew he missed his block.
Yeah, that hurts. Goodman, if you want to play now, you got to catch it and you got to block.
But Gartrell's just happy to make that catch. He's been hurt, didn't play at all last year, and finally getting a chance to get in there and get some game action.
Well, Goodman's thinking, oh no, Coach Eason's going to get me on that. Red flag me.
Yeah, he had the touchdown catch, though.
Yeah, that'll help him out. You know what? They have a tendency to run back in the film sessions the mistakes more than the successes, though, unfortunately.
Negative reinforcement, isn't it?
Well, they're trying to coach you up,
yeah.
I guess.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
They figure you know what you did right. We got to point out what you did wrong. Timeout called by Georgia with 8:47 to play. And let's check in with Allison Williams down on the sideline.
Guys, you were just talking about D'Amico Goodman. Such a story there. He actually tore his ACL last year in the game against Kentucky in November. He's already back out in the field. After he tore his ACL, he actually continued to play, not really realizing how badly he was injured. This guy has speed for days. He qualified for the NCAA tournament as a sprinter, and they're trying to coach him up and get him to learn this game of football. They said he's finally really starting to catch on and looking for a big breakout year from him, and he's well on his way. That touchdown was his first career touchdown catch.
Yeah, he's running that 4x400 leg here at Georgia.
Yeah, a couple of quick recoveries, as she pointed out. Goodman hurt himself in November. Thomas Brown hurt himself against Vanderbilt, actually even later than Goodman did. And so really quick recoveries, especially when you consider, you know, most experts will tell you you can get back from the knee injury, but you're not fully recovered from that knee injury for well over a year. But both those guys are already playing and playing well.
Yeah, some of these fans having a big time at the game today. A few empty seats. A lot of people left and went home early today.
Going going to try to beat the traffic. And they can, of course, catch what they missed on the Dog Report, which airs every Monday night at 7:30 Eastern, right before the Georgia replay that comes on at 9. Join me along with Buck Ballou and Matt Stinchcomb as we take a look at Georgia's game against Western Carolina and look ahead to their big ball game against Alabama next Saturday. And that's the Dog Report coming up Monday at 7:30. If you miss it on Monday, you can catch it on Thursday at 2 o'clock. And Georgia will be traveling to Alabama, where they won their last trip there a couple of years ago. In fact, what was it, the 2000, it was their SEC championship season when they won at Alabama.
Well, it'll be a hostile environment now that Nick Saban's coaching them up over there. Two teams a little bit under the radar in the SEC, Alabama and Georgia.
3rd down and 11 following the timeout by Georgia. Cox wanting to throw, got all kinds of time, and TJ Cartrell was wide open. Had he been able to catch up with that, he would have had himself a long touchdown reception.
Well, that post pattern seems to be the toughest throw to make as a quarterback. You don't know how far to lead the guy over in the middle of the field, or you want to take him up the field. Just got to hang it out there and expect that guy to run it down. And Joe Cox just missing a little too far out in front for Gartrell to make the play. Can't afford to miss those open guys, though.
Brian Mims on the punt for just the 2nd time today.
You'd rather underthrow that guy than overthrow him.
Carlton Bailey calls for a fair catch. Will let it hop in front of him, then take it on the bounce, and then he got hit after calling for a fair catch. I thought he called for a fair catch, but no flag was thrown. So Georgia perhaps catches a break right there that no flag was thrown, because not only did I thought he called a fair catch, but he also was down on one knee.
Jeff Henson delivering the blow. He's the snapper.
Here's a look at Georgia's schedule. After today's game against Western Carolina, as we mentioned, 3 of the next 4 will be on the road. Actually, 4 of the next 5 if you count the Florida game at the end of October.
Well, the middle of the schedule obviously tough with the road games. Tuscaloosa, Knoxville, Nashville, Jacksonville, where you have not had much success the last 17 years. The end of the schedule manageable now. Auburn down, losing today. Kentucky a little bit improved, and that last one looking big at Bobby Dodd Grant Field to end the season.
And the Yellow Jackets have a big game later on against Boston College. Pass by Hearn is thrown incomplete, trying to connect with Marquell Pittman.
There's a Stafford fan. He's got his shades on. He's looking good, man.
Talking about you on TV.
So 2nd down and 10 for the Bulldogs at the 31-yard line.
You notice he's over there by the cheerleaders.
2nd and 10.
4 wide receivers set for Western Carolina here, as it looks like they're going to lose number 12 in a row. They'll just be happy to be playing outside the Southeastern Conference when they take on the Blue Hose of Presbyterian. Pass is complete to Marquell Pittman, tackled by Gamble at the 42-yard line.
Well, you see a lot of fans leaving here, but this is valuable playing time for these backup players. Getting a chance to show off a little bit, learn a little bit by making some mistakes out there with live bullets flying around.
Senior Drew Williams getting into the ball game at safety. Been a special teams ace for 4 years here at the University of Georgia. A 6-foot, 197-pound senior out of Blairsville, Georgia, and Union County High School. Doesn't get much scrimmage time, and he's out there playing safety.
Well, I bet his parents were hanging around. See Blake Barnes getting loose on the sideline. He's the next quarterback in.
He's only had a few snaps in his entire career. Handoff to L.J. Davis, the fullback that time.
Number 32,
Jarius Wynn clogging up the hole out there. Big number 99 from Lincolnton. Talk about high school programs. Wow, they've flat done it under Coach Campbell over there.
Yeah, I was just looking at the rankings last night. Lincoln County ranked number 1 again. I won't point out that your alma mater got beat rather badly.
Well, I'll tip my cap to Brookwood, getting it done at home, taking out my boys from Valdosta.
It's 37-6.
Running back looked good for Brookwood last night.
2nd down and 5. Pass is thrown complete to Pittman. Pittman sprints to the outside, where Marcus Brown making the tackle. Looks like he might have been shaken up at the end of the play, too.
Well, the guy stepped on him.
He's run out by Brown.
Those cleats hurt, man.
So a first down for Western at the 30-yard line.
Well, you saw the quarterback faking to nobody. But the play sure worked out well for them. You see the knee getting tangled up under Remarcus there. He's lucky he didn't get hurt.
So first and 10, ball at the 30. Under 7 minutes to play here. Georgia leading 45-9. So you went to the game last night?
No, I heard it on the radio.
No, you're just listening to it on the radio.
Yeah.
Hearns under a rush, gets away from it. Throwing for the end zone, and it is caught, but out of the back of the end zone. That was a great catch by Kyle Garland, but he ran out of real estate.
Yeah, quarterback, nice job hanging that out there. Hearns gave him a chance to make a play back there, and Drew Williams did his best to break things up, but really a nice throw by Ford. Ford threw it as far as he could throw it on the run. Right on the money. That was close.
Second down and 10 now with the ball at the 30.
Ford does a nice job when he's out running out on the corner, rolling out, of squaring his shoulders up before he throws the football. Helps with the accuracy.
So second down and 10. Hearns fires complete to Marcus Brown. Marcus Brown hops over a man, then gets caught from behind by Akeem Dent at the 19-yard line. How many tackles we got for Akeem today?
We've got 7 on him right now. And that leads the team, according to our numbers. And you see the pursuit. He's got to chase him all around the field to get that tackle. He's cutting back all the way to the weak side on the play. There's Dent.
Yeah, Bulldogs
through the air.
Bulldogs had not been getting that many tackles from the Sam linebacker position, but Akeem Dent's gotten a lot of them there. First and 10. Hearns scrambling around, going to run it instead. Runs for the stick, steps out of bounds at the 11-yard line.
Well, the pass rush got caved down and really allowed him to escape and get out on the corner. You know, something these young players have to learn. You got to maintain containment there. You can't be crashed down and allow that to happen. Brandon Wood coming off the field, another youngster in the game, redshirt freshman, defensive end.
Second down and 2. Hand off to L.J. Davis. Davis inside the 5 and down to the 2-yard line. First down carry for L.J. Davis, and let's check in with Allison Williams.
Well, guys, we saw Georgia go to their bench as their lead was established. They've been able to get about 12 to 15 guys in on offense or defense for the first time. A lot of these guys have only played on special teams or not at all. So these young players getting that valuable game time experience.
They don't want to give up the touchdown here either, guys.
No, they don't. It's first and goal at the 3-yard line. Georgia has not given up a touchdown since the first quarter of the South Carolina game, and as we told you earlier, only 3 all season. Western Carolina trying to change that right here. Handoff goes to Malone, and they get a touchdown for the senior out of Gainesville, Georgia. That's a nice move by head coach Kent Briggs, because Malone had not been in the ball game. They put Malone back in the ball game so the senior out of Gainesville can get the touchdown.
Yeah, really a nice touch. The kid had a great career at Gainesville High School and has a chance to come back and show off in front of the home folks. A nice little touch by Kent Briggs, getting his man in the ball game to get the touch. That's what Ditka should have done in that '86 Super Bowl when he gave it to the refrigerator Perry instead of letting Walter Payton go over the top.
Yeah. Extra point attempt was blocked, but it got through the uprights nonetheless. And so with 4 minutes and 41 seconds to play, Western Carolina cuts into that Georgia lead. The Bulldogs still in command, however, 45-16. 2:51 to play here at Sanford Stadium. Georgia leading Western Carolina 45-16. Let's go back down on the field to Allison Williams.
Buck, you mentioned earlier that a catamount is a type of wildcat that lives in the mountains, and while it may not be that well known of an animal, it's definitely better than the alternative Western Carolina had picked out as their mascot. So when they had the contest back in 1933, the second choice was to be the mountain boomers, which is a squirrel that lives in the mountains and is apparently very hard to catch. The football coach back then said he didn't want a squirrel as a mascot. He wanted a cat because he wanted it to have fierce spirit, savage attack, and lightning quick moves, and apparently a squirrel didn't fit that profile.
Thank you, Allison. Now that's what I call research. You can't get that kind of information just any place.
Blake Barnes coming in the game, quarterback, junior out of Mississippi. Highly thought of coming into Athens, but really is just not developed for him here. But he's not running off, transferring. You saw Jim Donnan when Quincy Carter took over. A lot of guys sort of exited the house.
They had 4 guys leave.
Yeah, these guys are sticking around.
Some of them went on to play. Like Hibble.
Yeah, Hibble had a nice run out at Oklahoma.
Daniel Cobb went to Auburn. Hand off to Chappis. Sean Chappis, the redshirt freshman out of St. Augustine, Florida, in the Bowles School, getting the first down carry for the Bulldogs. Yeah, Blake Barnes out of Baldwin, Mississippi High School. He was Mr. Mississippi football, I think, during his senior year out there.
Well, really, in pass skeleton without the rush, he's really impressive. Throws a pretty football. Always seems to be a perfect spiral. But, you know, when those live bullets are flying, things change a little bit for the quarterback, and he's not as comfortable.
Chappis gets another carry, and Chappis picks up about 4 yards on the play to the 45. For his career, Blake Barnes, 2 of 3 for 9 yards.
But loves Georgia, loves the campus. Very happy where he's at right now. No guarantees if you transfer you're going to end up playing, and then you might end up in a place where
you don't like it.
You're not as happy off the football field.
So 2nd down and 5.
5-yard gain, 2nd and 5.
2 tight ends, I formation. They're going to run it here.
Vernon Spellman in the game at wide receiver for the Bulldogs as well. That was Daniels again on the carry, and it's going to be 3rd down.
You wanted to say Ellerby, didn't you?
No, I wanted to say Daniels.
He's come out of nowhere. I've got no information on 3-3.
Yeah, I don't know.
You think Tony Dorsett was his man?
I don't.
He's looking a little like TD out there.
I'm not sure. I don't know anything about Kyle Daniels. This one totally caught us by surprise.
He's coming off the field.
We'll see if we can't get some information on him. If not today, we'll pass it along on the dog report. How about that? 3rd down and 6. High snap that Barnes pulls in. He's going to get a pass attempt here. Just the 4th of his career. And a nice catch by T.J. Gartrell.
Hey, we've all done that growing up in the backyard or maybe out on the street, using the curb as the sideline and getting those feet down.
That's a nice catch by T.J. Gartrell. He was quite a wide receiver at Stevenson High School, where his quarterback was Reggie Ball.
And a nice block by Vince Vance to allow Barnes to get outside and roll outside the pocket.
You see T.J. Gartrell and D'Amico Goodman.
By the receiver of the offensive team was out of bounds. He came back in and was first to touch the pass. Penalty is lost down at the previous spot. 4th down.
Oh, still pretty.
Yeah. Won't count in the record book, though, as a reception, nor will it count as a completion for Blake Barnes.
Be a good teaching tool for Coach Eason during the week. He'll run it back and forth. You can't leave the playing field and come back in.
Mims on to punt again for Georgia. We're down to the final 2.5 minutes of this affair. And Mims boots it away. Nice long kick. Bailey calls for a fair catch, making it at the 16-yard line. And that's where the Catamounts will go back on offense, perhaps for the final time today. And let's check in with Allison Williams.
Well, guys, I got a little info for you on that number 33, Kelvin Daniels. He's from Dodge County High School. He's a walk-on, a true freshman, and he's playing today because Jason Johnson is injured. He injured his hand, and he's usually their 3rd string back.
Well, I've got some relatives down in that Eastman area. I'll have to check in on
Dodge County.
Mr. Daniels, yeah.
How about that?
Got an uncle down there.
Walk-on true freshman getting a chance to play today.
Uncle's a big Bulldog fan. Randy Clements, if you're listening, Randy. Uncle, how you doing, buddy? Tell us about this Daniels guy.
And I'd say this probably, and you mentioned Caleb King a few minutes ago. I think this officially means Caleb King is not going to play this year. The thought being, you never know, but the thought being if he didn't play in today's game, he wasn't going to play. But you never know. I mean, if the Bulldogs were to suffer an injury to either Thomas Brown or Knowshon Moreno, then Caleb King would be summoned into action. But at this point, it looks like Georgia's going to redshirt the young man out of Parkview High School in GAC. A timeout on the field with 2:11 to play, and Georgia leading 45-16. First and 10, Hearns being chased out of the pocket. Pass is complete up to the 24-yard line. Markel Pittman making the grab for the Catamounts. Sophomore out of Maxton, North Carolina. Mark Richt now 19-0 at home against non-conference teams. In fact, during his career at the University of Georgia, they've only lost 2 non-conference games, and that was the West Virginia in the Sugar Bowl and BC in the Music City Bowl back in his first year.
Some of those non-conference wins sweeter than some of the others, like beating Georgia Tech here between the hedges. That'll be a tough proposition to end the season over in Atlanta this year, though.
Yeah. Richt is 6-0 against Georgia Tech.
And don't you think Coach Gailey will be pointing that out?
3rd and 1.
No, I don't think he'll point that out until he beats Georgia.
No, he'll say you guys have never whipped them. Now's the time.
Oh, you mean he's pointing it out to his team, not to the media?
Oh, yeah.
Not that the media has to be reminded.
No, the media would be reminding him of that.
Yes, exactly. There's Caleb King. Looks like a redshirt season for Caleb King, but once he gets on the field, and I saw this young man in high school from his sophomore season on at Parkview and then Greater Atlanta Christian. This.
Well, what do you think of his style?
Spectacular. I think he and Knowshon Moreno will be quite a dynamic duo.
Total package, inside, outside.
1st and 10. Time running down here to the final 30 seconds. Hearns going up top, and it is complete. Down the sideline to Eddie Cohen, out of bounds at the 34-yard line, stopping the clock with 29 seconds.
Working on Prince Miller there, sophomore cornerback, and really tough to defend that. You had a guy running a great route, and the ball right where it needed to be. Pretty good coverage by Miller. The ball drops right on in, though.
Clock will start running again once they get the chain set. Western Carolina trying to get another late touchdown here to make the score look a little bit more respectable. Pass thrown complete to Marcus Brown. He gets dropped at the 31-yard line. Might be the final play. Nope, they're going to call a timeout. I want to take one more crack at the end zone. You know, when you ask why the heck would they call a timeout here in this situation, but you know how coaches are. They got a play right here. They're taking a shot at the end zone for when the game perhaps means a little bit more to them than this one.
Never say die.
You don't buy that?
Yeah, just never let them see you quit.
Yeah. There's nothing to be gained by it.
But he's still coaching him up. He's down 45-16 with 8 seconds left, and look at this man coaching up his team.
Well, they've got a big game next week against Presbyterian because that'll be a game that they're going to try to avoid joining that 1956-57 Western Carolina team in infamy, a team that lost 13 in a row.
Yeah, Georgia Southern coming up in 2 weeks, right?
That's right. You don't want to be a part of that history, that's for sure.
Well, they got a big payday today for coming up to Athens, and that will help this program. paying some dues, taking some lumps.
It's a beautiful campus. I don't know that you've ever been.
Yeah, we've as a baseball player at Georgia, we went up and played Western Carolina many times.
I've been up there a number of times on assignment for CSS doing college basketball.
Beautiful campus.
It is. It's a lovely place to go to school. Could be the final play right here. Hearns going for the end zone. Got Marcus Brown out there. Throws it out of the back of the end zone, and that's gonna do it. The Georgia Bulldogs have defeated the Western Carolina Catamounts by a final score of 45-16. Georgia now 2-1 on the season as they get set to get back into the SEC next Saturday. They'll travel to Tuscaloosa, Alabama to take on the Crimson Tide. As of right now, the time of that game has not yet been set. Western Carolina falls to 0-3. Their losing streak now 12 games. They'll try to break it next week when they play their home opener there in Cullowhee against Presbyterian. Georgia winning today by a final score of 45-16. Matthew Stafford on the day called it quits in the third quarter. 14 of 20 for 174 yards. Couple of touchdowns. Knowshon Moreno finished 6 yards shy of 100. 13 carries for 94. And a touchdown. He also had 2 catches for 33. Muhammad Massaquoi, 3 catches for 47. I think D'Amico Goodman, a nice story here today, getting some action. 2 catches for 51 and a touchdown. And Gartrell also got in the ball game as well. And a whole bunch of guys that don't normally get a play got a chance to suit up and play here today. Let's go down on the field to Allison Williams.
Matthew, 14 of 21, 2 touchdowns in under 3 quarters of play. How important was it for you to come out here and have a good performance to ride into Tuscaloosa?
It was big for the whole team, I think. You know, we came out here and played well today, played hard, and, you know, we're definitely going to carry this momentum into next week.
And it certainly helps when you've got the support of the running game. Talk about Knowshon Moreno and what a game he had.
Yeah, he did a great job. You know, Knowshon's run the rock really well for us, so is Thomas. So I think they both had a couple of touchdowns, at least 1 each, so they did a good job.
All right, great. Congratulations, Matthew.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Allison. The Georgia Bulldogs winners today over Western Carolina. The executive producer of CSS Sports is Steve Thomas. The coordinating producer is Russ Aaron. Our game producer today has been Steve Graham. And now for Allison Williams, Buck Bellew, and the rest of the CSS crew, I'm Matt Stewart. Good afternoon from Athens, Georgia, where the Georgia Bulldogs improved to 2-1 with a 45-16 victory over the Western Carolina Catamounts.